All right, everybody, here we go. Today is Friday, June 19th, 2026. My name is Rob Carter. Welcome to the future. #1 radio/podcast in America. Good morning, Isaiah. Are you tired?
Good morning.
You tired today?
Oh, yeah.
We went to the, Trump Days in Osage County. We emceed and did interviews last night. Very exciting. Just to get the interviews and get the information. We had a bunch of people in one spot. It was fantastic. We'll talk a little bit more about that, I think, today. We're doing an interview. So if you're tuning in, I noticed a lot of people moved over to the website, Isaiah. I'm noticing that. So the robcartershow.com, if you want to listen, if you want to watch, we now have our website up. You can go to the robcartershow.com and listen from there or watch from there. We'll be adding all kinds of information as that platform begins to develop. But today at 9:15, Nadine at 9 from Damn Radio will interview me. So we'll run the interview on our platforms as well. Nadine at 9, very popular. I can't wait to have this conversation. Be curious to see what she asked me, but that comes in at 9:15. So we got to get business knocked out very quickly. First thing I want to do, Isaiah, is we had Michael Hitchborn on yesterday from Lepanto Institute, and I really enjoyed that conversation. He's going to be in town. So I want to show the flyer here real fast, make sure we promote him. He's going to be in, I believe, Monday for a couple of days. So that's #1 on the list, Isaiah. Let's pop that up. I throw you off? There he is. And can you kind of blow that up so I can read that where it's at?
I cannot.
You can't. Okay. Can you read it? So it's Michael Lepanto. He was on with us yesterday. If you did not get to see the interview, he talks about corruption within the church. He talked through history, and I just thought it was fascinating, just the information that he had. So I would love to see him. If I was in town, I would be there very quickly because I would like to meet the guy. But where is that exactly?
It looks like it's at Robin Wood West Community Center off 12556 Merrick Drive, St. Louis, Missouri, 63146. It says it right there in the middle. For anyone watching, in the red right there, Credo Potluck Dinner Forum on Monday with a Q&A. So if you had questions for Michael and you weren't able to answer them here, this looks like a great place to go sit down, have some food. It looks like a potluck dinner, and get your questions answered too.
Yeah, I'll post that on socials. We'll put it on our website. We'll push it because he was one of the more entertaining guests for me, at least. I liked that conversation a lot yesterday. So Michael Lepanto, he'll be in town on Monday. We'll post this on social media. We'll put it on the website and we'll promote it. He'll be in town on Monday. Let's get advertising done. Let's get a couple advertisers done because at 9:15 we'll be interviewed, and I think I'm on her schedule. So we're going to have to call in, Isaiah, too.
Yeah.
Nadine at 9. So let's start with gracehauling.com. Gracehauling.com. Gracehauling.com.
People's Lobby, Missouri.
You just do not let me get away with it, do you?
Nope.
You are something else. You're like, you're like the manager.
You can't do it. I mean, if it's a title sponsor, I don't know why you would spit.
I know, it's mine. That's why I don't want to take care of them first. PLMO, People's Lobby, Missouri. Again, if you are trying to get information in the state of Missouri, I think there's several grassroots organizations, but the ones who are more independent of thought, who don't go along with establishment talking points, People's Lobby, Missouri, we ask that you join. Whether you donate or not we want as many donations as we can possibly get, but it's not the most important thing. If you sign up, we can communicate with you. We can organize with you. We can get things done in the state of Missouri, People's Lobby, Missouri, and around the country. It's the same everywhere. We just use Missouri as the template. The politics in your state is no different, no matter where you're at, than it is in Missouri. We just show you how the game is played. If you want an insight to the political machine, check out peopleslobbymo.com. peopleslobbymo.com. Donate or just sign up. Doesn't matter to us. peopleslobbymo.com. All right, Isaiah. There it is.
Now we can do Grace Hauling.
Now we can do Grace. Sorry, Gary. That was Isaiah. That wasn't me. gracehauling.com, gracehauling.com, gracehauling.com for all things rubbish, all things trash. It is gracehauling.com. Again, people were texting me yesterday when I said it. All over St. Charles County, you'll see Grace Hauling trucks, dumpsters. It is because people love doing business with Gary Schneider. Been around since 1998. If you are a commercial business, 2, 4, 6, and 8-yard dumpsters. They pride themselves on outstanding customer service and competitive pricing. They are the best in class. gracehauling.com. If you're a residential customer, always remember, when you think rubbish, when you think trash, it is gracehauling.com. Recyclables, yard waste, and bulk pickups. gracehauling.com. gracehauling.com. I said, Gary, what do you want me to say about your business? He goes, oh, I don't know, Rob. But for the grace of God, I would not have such a thriving business. I said, I'll just say that. But for the grace of God, Grace Halling would not have such a thriving business. GraceHalling.com, GraceHalling.com, GraceHalling.com. And then we move over to Rocket Careers. Mitch has been a sponsor for a long time. Love this business. RocketCareers.com. If you are a small to medium sized business, human resources just does not put the proper candidates before you when you're hiring, and you end up with people that really are not invested in what you're trying to accomplish. Rocket Careers does the vetting. They have a Rolodex from coast to coast. So this is a nationwide business. So it's not just in the state of Missouri. Wherever you're at, if you're listening and you have a small to medium sized business, lean on rocketcareers.com. They'll put the right people before you. Rocket, ROCKIT careers.com. You can reach out to them at 636 778 2419. And as always, if you're out of work or you hate your job, rocketcareers.com can help you launch a new career. They'll help you with your elevator pitch, they'll help you with your resume. They'll teach you how to change careers and get into something that you love to do. Rocketcareers.com, ROCKIT careers.com. My good friends, Mitch and Brian. And it's Friday, Isaiah. And as I learned from Tony Clark at Valvoline Express Care, people get their oil changes on the weekend. I don't know why, but he said the weekends are where it's at when it comes to oil changes. So if it's time for an oil change, if the check engine light is on, it is always Valvoline Express Care. If you go to their website, valvoline-expresscare.com, you can get coupons for your next oil change. As he says, Rob, 15 minutes from bay to on your way. When I was getting my oil changed last time, it's exactly how it went down. Quick, efficient oil changes, no pressure, no nonsense, all Valvoline branded products. When it's time for an oil change, think Valvoline Express Care. Here's Tony's locations: Cape Girardeau, Missouri, Highland, Illinois, Troy, Illinois, Lemay Ferry Road, Warrenton, Missouri, Mid Rivers Mall Drive, and St. Peter's Parkway. If you don't have that sticker in your window, how can we possibly be friends, Isaiah? It's not even possible.
Not possible.
Why would you get your oil changes anywhere else? It doesn't even make any sense.
But you did the first thing you did when you got to your son's house.
What's that? Check his window?
Yeah, check.
I check everybody's windows. Can we get advanced in?
Oh, yeah.
Let's get advanced wellness in. And please, everybody, again, to beat the algorithms, we have to like and share. We're talking about Israel a lot, and we're on the other side of the fence. We're not big fans of what's going on between the United States and Israel. We take the side that they bombed the USS Liberty. They hit it. Our government hit it. That should give you a hint as to whether they are our greatest ally in the world. When your own government hides these type of things, it makes you wonder what's really going on behind the scenes. The Iran deal now, it looks like Trump's made a total reversal on where he was just a couple of months ago. But when we talk about Israel, when we talk about stolen elections, when you talk about these things, the algorithms don't work in your favor. So we always say, please, 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 if you're a daily listener, like and share as often as you possibly can.
Leave a comment too, not just in the chat, but go and leave a comment. That'll help. It helps, engaging with it while we're live helps, but going and leaving a comment, that helps it continue to show to more people, even when we're off the air. So all those things help us out, and that's how you can be a part of the show too. That's what me and Rob talk about, that's what the community can help us with.
And we had, so Bob Parker, who we had on, he's kind of a known quantity in Missouri politics.
Guy.
Yeah, really sharp guy. He said, Rob, if you need call-in help. So I think he's going to be a call screener for us.
Yeah.
So we're going to be able to take call-ins here before too long, maybe within the next week or 10 days. We'll have Bob Parker join us, and we can do call-ins, and you can be a part of the show.
Yeah.
AdvancedWellnessMed.com. Our good friend Helen Gelhott, there she is on the screen, very spiritual woman, as you can see. She says, feel, think, or look better, and she assists with the divine healer. Again, if you are suffering or know someone who is suffering from Alzheimer's or dementia, she has symptom reversal techniques in her within her practice. And I was just with her, and somebody flew in just to be at a meeting that she was in. That's how much respect she has from people that she treats. Dr. Helen Gelhott, the very best. Early cancer treatment. She has the earliest cancer treatment testing available, the earliest cancer detection blood test available on the market. So if you are concerned about cancer and you want to find out just where you stand, go get that test from advancedwellnessmed.com. advancedwellnessmed.com. You can reach her at 314-576-0094. Don't wait. Dementia, Alzheimer's, it's progressive. It gets worse. If you know somebody and they're beginning to slow down just a little bit and you're concerned, go to advancedwellnessmed.com as fast as you can. Make the appointment, because if you can reverse those symptoms, you can save your family a lot of time and aggravation. And it's just very difficult to deal with people who are, who are suffering. It's painful disease to watch grow. She also does early testing for heart attacks and strokes. AdvancedWellnessMed.com and our good friend, Dr. Helen Gelhot.
I got some breaking news for us. Israel and Hezbollah agreed to a ceasefire starting on Friday. This is 4 minutes ago. Israel and Hezbollah have agreed to a renewed ceasefire starting Friday at 4 p.m. local time, following intensive behind-the-scenes mediation by the U.S., Qatar, and Iran. It says Lebanese and Iranian officials framed the truce as vital to saving the wider accord. Lebanese Parliament Speaker Nabi Berri emphasized that Hezbollah's commitment is designed strictly to facilitate the upcoming 60-day U.S.-Iran implementation talks.
Good news.
Great news.
Very good news.
Because they blew up yesterday.
Let's hope something good comes out of that. It would be nice. It's it's time for peace.
Yes.
Let's want peace for a little bit, Isaiah. Would it be nice to be out of war for just maybe take off 10, 15, 20 years before we start?
I'll say this, just because we're believers in Jesus, right? Yes. The only way that there will be peace is through Christ. And so there's no peace that can come through man. And that's what the Bible tells us, that we'll be in all these turmoil and wars and everything until Jesus returns. So it's unfortunate, but that doesn't mean that we can't strive to be more peaceful.
Peace.
Right?
Yes.
Exactly.
A peaceful nation would be very nice. Yeah. All right, I'm going to call Nadine. We're going to get her on.
Let's do it.
Bring her in.
Yeah, if you guys don't know,
hello. Thanks for calling Damn Radio.
Rob is calling into a radio show. He's getting interviewed.
If we are running a live show and you would like to call in, press 2. Your call will be recorded and broadcasted live. Please wait while the host accepts your call.
There she is.
Feel free to sing along with Trump while you wait.
Let me let her know.
It's just been such a breath of fresh air when it feels like everything is closing in around you and you can't do anything about it. You go back to the Lord, right? Because he's the only one that truly can. So I believe that I have with me Mr. Robb Carter. Is that you?
Good morning, Nadine. How are you? This is going to be interesting.
Excellent. I know. We'll see how it goes. I was telling my people that you have quite a larger following than I do. So my audience is going to be larger than normal. So hopefully I can keep up with it.
Well, I hear that you're very popular. All of my friends that when I was in radio, everybody kept saying, you got to go talk to Nadine. You got to go on Nadine's show. And we just could never make it happen. I think because we were on at the same time.
Yes.
Right. So now that I do the podcast, we can control our own destiny. So here we are.
Exactly. Okay. Sorry. When your name came up on the caller ID, it didn't show Robb Carter. And so at first I was just a little bit thrown. So now I'm back again, but
might have been my wife.
It is.
Okay. Yeah. She runs everything in the house, Nadine.
Yeah, I understand how that goes. My husband jokingly refers to me as his assistant. So
it's very similar at my house. I keep telling my wife she's made it so that I'm so dependent on her that I can no longer live without her. And I think she might have done that on purpose. Yeah.
Exactly right. Exactly. Well, I am really, first of all, thank you so much for working this out to be able to do my show live while you're doing your show live. I hope that it does work out well and that there's no weird feedback or anything. But I'm really curious to hear a little bit about your background because I know who you are and I know who you are within the past year or two, but I haven't known anything before that. So can you give a little bit of a brief background story of yourself?
Of course. Grew up in St. Louis. I got into the shoe business. The reason I'm in radio and broadcasting now is I was in the shoe business for 35 years. I was the president of some small companies and executive in some big companies like Cole Haan. People might know Cole Haan Shoes. I worked out of Manhattan for their corporate office. Clark's Shoes. I worked at Clark's Shoes, started with them in 1994 before anybody really knew who they were, and just happened to work for a brilliant executive. He built that into almost $1 billion business. I got to ride that wave for a while. Went to work for Skechers for a little bit. So Skechers when they were small and watched them grow to the behemoth they are now. So I learned a lot about marketing. especially from Skechers.
Yeah.
Skechers used to say we are a marketing company that sells shoes. Shoes are the vehicle for our marketing. And I got to watch how that worked. And it, Nadine, what it taught me was what Skechers taught me was how propaganda works. It's very similar to the way marketing techniques work. So when I started getting into politics and paying attention to politics, when you're not ready for propaganda, when you don't know that it's happening, you go down different paths. You can be misled. I always say that the corporate news media is nothing more than a brainwashing propaganda outfit that most people don't recognize. And I fell right into it. I was brainwashed. I started to believe things that were not true. I was arguing with my friends about things later on in life. I thought, man, how embarrassing to go back to my 30s and 40s and scream and yell at people that we needed to go into Iraq. And we had 17 UN resolutions. And I remember being with friends and fighting at restaurants and making a complete butt out of myself because I thought I was so informed because I was watching Fox News 24 hours a day. So that kind of led me into COVID. I was working for a company out of California, and COVID shut everything down. And the situation that I had there is I was working for a billionaire in Los Angeles, and he liked me. He didn't need the money from the shoe business. He was in the real estate business. He got into shoes as something that it was like a side gig for him that he loved to do. And he put me in charge of a business, gave me the marketing budget, gave me all the tools that I needed to grow this brand that was really popular in Los Angeles in like 2009, 2010. They sold it off. Rocky Brands had it, and it kind of just fell apart. And he bought it back, put me in charge of it. I spent 2 years, 150, 200 days of the year. I was on the road selling to like Foot Locker and Athlete's Foot and DSW and Macy's and Nordstrom's. I had worked my absolute tail off, probably the hardest I've ever worked in my life. Had all of these shoes placed, about 500,000 pairs of shoes or so, right around that, 500,000 pairs of shoes put into the marketplace. We had a big marketing campaign getting ready to happen. And Donald Trump came on my television screen and said he was shutting down society. So that was it. That ended it, because the way the shoe business works, you put all your shoes out there and you make margin agreements with these customers. So if you don't meet your margins, you have to pay the margin difference. So the owner of our company had to pay a big fat check because they couldn't sell the shoes because their stores weren't open. We had a margin agreement with them, and it was an absolute nightmare that collapsed their business completely. And I was very frustrated. So I was telling my son the whole story, because when this right before that had happened, I had went to China, because that's where you build shoes. You build shoes in China. When I was in China, Nadine, I flew out of China into Hong Kong, and I'm sitting at the airport in Hong Kong. And I've told the story a million times. I'll tell it one more. I was sitting at the airport in Hong Kong, and I'm looking up at CNN International on the monitors, and it's showing what looked to be Chinese people walking along the streets and falling down, just collapsing. But I noticed it looked fake because, when you fall down, you usually fall down head first. These people were breaking their falls, and I couldn't figure it out, but I was reading the scroll and it said COVID, 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 COVID. I get back into Missouri, Florida, Missouri. I go back and forth between the two states. And I got married on October 19th. And right after that, they started talking about COVID. And I told my son, I said, I've been following politics for a long time. I was in New York. They had a guy doing an interview who said they're going to sell a virus here before too terribly long. This was in 2014. I had to go look and find it. But it was back in 2014. He said they're going to sell a virus, and they're going to sell a virus to consolidate power. And he started to explain it. Now, it's 5 years later, so I didn't remember it that well, but because of the internet and YouTube and so forth, I went out and find it, and I watched it, and I called my son, and I said, I think they're going to sell this virus big time, and they're going to start masking, because they predicted masking and mandatory vaccines and so forth. He said, nah, that would never happen here. I said, I don't know. So as it started to develop, my son called me one day and he goes, "You're right. This is happening." He goes, "I just heard on I think it was whatever station that they're going to start mandating masks." I said, "I told you." I said, "This is what's going to go down." He said, "You should do a podcast for our friends and family." So he flew down. I was in Florida at the time. He flies from Missouri down into Florida, because I didn't know how to put a podcast together. He puts it all together, and I do the podcast with my son. I send it to 55 people through Facebook Messenger. And within about 2 or 3 months, we had thousands and thousands and thousands of people paying attention to what I was saying. And I was laid off of work. I mean, I was getting paid, but I didn't have to do any work because COVID had shut everything down. and that started to mushroom. I got the itch to communicate with people, and one thing led to another. I got into news talk in St. Louis radio station. I did a weekend show, then a nightly show. Then I wanted to do mornings like you're doing, and I moved over to Real Talk Radio and started a morning show there, and caused quite a hubbub because I started to learn Missouri politics and how corrupted Missouri politics are. And that's kind of where the whole thing started, and that's where we're at now.
Wow. When you were working in the shoe business, were you marketing? Were you like fitting shoe? I mean, what was your role?
I was the when I started selling shoes on the floor when I was 16 years old, but this was corporate job. So for example, Colhan is the one I think most people would know are Clark's. Their head offices for Colhan is Manhattan, and Clark's is in Newton, Massachusetts. I was a VP of sales, executive VP of sales, president of some smaller companies, but it was corporate sales and marketing.
Okay. So are you a big shoe guy?
Oddly enough, as crazy as it sounds, I love the shoe business. I did. It was a great business to grow up in. It's changed completely now. Like everything else, everything is consolidated. Big money has come in, bought everything up. They bought up most of the mom and pops, consolidated everything around private equity. But I'm not a big. I don't buy a lot of shoes. I never did. Even when I was in the shoe business, you get them because you get them for free from the companies you work for. But I've never been one to go out and buy a lot of shoes. I'm cheap, Nadine. I like to spend my money on my family and travel, and that's about it.
Yeah, I hear that. I know when I was younger, my family would just joke around because I was basically like a shoeaholic. I have small feet, and so I could get shoes for really cheap because most people don't have the smaller feet as I do, and so they would go on sale, and I'd be getting these $5 pairs of shoes and stuff. But definitely, as I've gotten older, and I don't want my feet to hurt all the time, I usually just invest in a good pair of shoes. Right?
Is there a brand that you like?
For tennis shoes, I have been wearing Hoka's for the past few years, and I know that they've gotten pretty popular. But I've mostly enjoyed them, but I think I need to try a different direction for a while and see. I've had some knee issues that I'm not sure the Hoka's are helping with. So, it's just everyone is so different with their foot. Oh, yeah. It's like there's just no way one size can fit all. Literally.
That's true. It just depends. It really does. It depends on where they make them too. They make them all over the world, absolutely. Primarily China, but they make them all over the world. And the sizing is a little bit different depending on where you're making the shoes. So you can wear a 9 out of 1, like Nikes generally fit smaller than other shoes, that kind of thing. I won't get into the shoe business, but it's just a personal preference. Yeah.
No, I actually worked at DSW, the shoe warehouse, for a while. I mean, that was like my favorite store. I just my biggest customer. DSW. What's that?
That was my biggest customer.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they were awesome, and for a long time they had like their back clearance section, and they would do, I believe, 90% off sometimes on some of their shoes. And I got a pair of UGG boots for like $10 one time, and it was awesome. That has changed now; it's not the same. But that was one of my favorite jobs, was working there at DSW.
They're based out of Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah.
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 Great company, good people.
Yeah, I always enjoyed it. They were good to me. But okay, so let's move into, you were at Real Talk, which is based out of, actually, let's back up a little bit. So you said that you kind of split your time between Missouri and Florida. So were you a resident of Missouri for a while and you moved to Florida, or you've always kind of gone back and forth? How did that work?
Yeah, this is an interesting story because I lived in Missouri for 53 years of my life.
Oh, wow.
My wife now is somebody I met when I was 11, 12 years old. Her and I were both married. She moved to Florida when I was 15, and we dated back and forth between Missouri and Florida for about 8, 9, 10 years. Eventually, just, too much distance between us. She got married, I got married, and I was at an event, and somebody walked up to me and said, did you know that Cindy, and her last name was Cox, Cindy Cox, got divorced? I said, and I had just gotten divorced myself. I said, oh, really? Didn't think much of it. But that person told her as well. And she says that I reached out to her, but it's not what happened. She reached out to me and she said, hey, are you ever in Florida? And I said, yeah, my son plays college baseball. We'll be down in Florida in March. Went down and saw her for the first time in many, many years. And it was just like old times. We hit it off immediately. And I was still living in Missouri, and I had to make a decision. Through my divorce, I was paying a lot in alimony and child support, and the Missouri income tax at the time was 6.5%. So I was paying about $20,000 plus in income tax, and I'm getting married now to my wife, who said, you know what, just stay in Missouri till your daughter gets out of high school, and that was the plan. And I started looking at it, and I'm like, man, I'm really tight on money. And if I can go to Florida, and because the guy that I was working for said you can go back and forth to Missouri on his dime. So I could just fly back and forth from Missouri to Florida whenever I wanted to. Yeah, it didn't cost anything. And I thought, well, I'll save myself $20,000 a year just by moving to Florida. And when you're married, you don't want to take $20,000 out of your family's pocket. So that's how I ended up in Florida. I have family. My whole family's in Missouri. So I come to Missouri, and I just emceed an event out in Osage County for the Republicans. It was called Trump Days. So I stay in contact with Missouri. I come here for 2 or 3 weeks. Every 6 or 8 weeks, I'm in Florida, and then I come back to Missouri for 2 to 3 weeks.
Wow. Do you have a house here then?
I'm staying with my son's house right now. I can stay with my dad.
Oh, okay.
I have friends. So wherever I come in, I set up a studio and I do my show from their homes. I take over.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. I have, when I was younger, 20 years ago now, goodness, I just traveled around quite a bit working. I just wanted to travel. And so I would get a job. I was working in the restaurant business. So I would just, move somewhere and get a job waitressing, bartending somewhere. And then when I was tired of there, I moved somewhere else and waitress, bartend. So I've always kind of enjoyed that never really, kind of settled, but not really, but still like having this opportunity to go places a lot. So it sounds like I actually think that the life that you're living would be kind of fun.
It's tiring, I got to tell you. But my wife and I, we like to spend our money on travel. She likes to travel. I like to travel. So the extra money that we have, we usually do it moving around and seeing the world.
Yeah. Well, have you been to a lot of different countries?
Europe, Canada, Mexico, China, Japan. So yeah, I've been around.
Do you have a favorite?
My favorite trip, honestly, was to the UK. We went to the UK. We saw the British Open golf tournament. It's called the Open up there. I took my son and my father up, and I had a great time in the UK. I like Japan as well, but my son was playing baseball in Japan when he was 12 years old, so we didn't get to see it. Yeah, he was on Team USA at 12, and we went to Japan for that, and it was all baseball, so I didn't get a chance to explore as much as I would have liked to, because we were watching him play ball the whole time.
Wow. Okay. So we're a big baseball family. My son is 9, and he would just be ecstatic to hear that. So I have to ask you a little more about it. Was your son was obviously pretty good. What position did he play?
In college, he was a pitcher. When he was that young, he played shortstop.
Wow. So did you go? You went to Japan when your son was 12.
12 years old.
That's pretty crazy.
It was fun. It was so fun, and it was an exchange situation. So it's not, when I say Team USA, they were called Team USA. It was some of the top players in Missouri would play, and from all over the country would come in, and we played Peru and Mexico. Mexico was funny because their 12-year-olds looked like they were 25 years old. One of the kids was like 6'3" with a beard, and I thought, can he possibly be 12 years old? And I think they won it. Our team did well. I think we won 3, lost 3. We tied Japan, the team that was out there. We tied them. But it was interesting in Japan when they play. They don't have fences in their big fields, so they set up like a rope around the outfield. And if you hit the ball over the rope on the fly, it's a home run. There was no fences. It was the most bizarre thing I'd seen. Yeah, and they play, and they don't. And at 12 years old, they don't play with a true baseball. It's almost like it was almost like it was like a baseball. It wasn't much difference, but it was a little bit like a hard rubber version of a baseball. It was different.
Huh.
Yeah. That's for safety.
And that's like specific to Japan?
It was in this tournament. It was, I think at a certain age, they try to keep these kids from getting hurt, but it bounced a little bit more. It was just a little bit different than a baseball. Not crazy. But a little bit different. But it was fun. I will say it was an exchange. So my son and his buddy stayed with a Japanese family when they were there. And one of the craziest memories I have is this woman she was hysterical. So on the last day when she was returning my son back to my wife and I, she cried like it was her son was going off to war.
Oh,
Yeah, it was unbelievable. I mean, it was theatrical, and I thought, is this woman crazy? What is going on around here? My son my son had been with her for 2 weeks, and she just cried and cried and cried, and it was very interesting.
wow.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, I'll have to talk with you more off air about this because I'm so interested to hear more about your son's story. That's really cool.
they sleep on the subways. So like when you go to a subway in America and it's wild
Yeah.
and crazy and there's noise everywhere, our kids were 12, so they're rambunctious. And in Japan, everybody sleeps. So you just get onto a subway train
Okay.
and it's quiet as you can imagine. You could hear a pin drop, and all the Japanese people were looking at us. We're like, oh, we thought it was going to be a little different, but it's the culture is
Yeah.
very different.
Crazy Americans.
Yes.
Wow, very interesting. Okay, so we'll move into Real Talk now, which was a station in St. Louis, out of St. Louis, and you were there for how long?
I was there, I think, for about a year and a half at Real Talk.
Okay. And then you recently, I know, left. So what was the story with that? You just wanted to have a little bit more freedom?
Yeah, I think that was it more than anything. I think it was I left, but I think it was more mutual than anything else. I am a critic of the Republican Party. I'm a conservative
Mhm.
with a libertarian bent, and I'm very critical, and I'm passionate I always say there's an alter ego to me. So if you meet me, I'll be
Mhm.
cordial and nice, and I like people, but I separate political I separate
Yeah.
politics from the person. So if I go after, for example, Senator Rick Bratton, I met him for the first time last night. I've been crazy critical of Rick Bratton,
Mhm.
and I get loud and I get irritated when I see votes that don't make any sense. And so I've been very
Yeah.
critical of him. But it's not him. I'm not mad at Rick. I don't know Rick Bratton. He might be a great father and a great husband. I know he's a former Marine, or never a former Marine, but a Marine. And some people can't separate those two. When you get passionate about politics because you think that you think people made promises that they didn't keep, and you get loud on the radio and throw a little temper tantrum or a rant, it's very personal to the person you're going after. But for me, it's
Right.
not. I get crucified. I get crucified all the time from people that disagree with me. And I said, I'm a public figure. I got to deal with it. And I think politicians should look at it the same way. Although human nature is when somebody's challenging you and speaking ill of you, that there's a knee jerk reaction to not like that person. But he was very cordial to me last night. His chief of staff, Tom Estes, is another person I've been very critical of. He was very cordial last night.
Mhm.
So, sometimes when you see people in person, it's a little bit different than, the image you may have of them
Right.
when you're watching them on TV or listening to them on the radio.
Right.
But
Absolutely.
and I'll just tell the story real fast because it is kind of interesting. I was right in the middle. I did a 3-hour show from 9 to noon, and I was right in the middle of my show, and I was upset that we went into Iran. And I know I know we have a lot of
Mhm.
conservative listeners there, but I know people from Iran. It's not what Fox News sells us. A lot of the things that we
Yep.
believe are just flat out nonsense. And I was throwing a little rant, and one of the station owners was upset with me and said, Rob, you're having a bad day. We're going to take it down. We're going to put an old show on for the next 2 hours.
Oh.
So as soon as that happened, I resigned immediately, and that's what happened. I just okay, well then I resign. I love you guys very much. You've been wonderful to me. I appreciate the opportunity, but I don't want to have to put guardrails on what I'm thinking or saying. And I
Yeah.
left and said I'll just start a podcast. Met Isaiah, the producer, and he put this all together. Without him, there's no show. He's got a lot.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of power over me, which I don't like.
He's like
He's
he's like your second wife.
Yes, he's smiling right now. Yes.
So where did you meet him?
Isaiah did
Did
he was in the political world, and he had done a video where remember in Minneapolis where they did they were showing the Somali leering centers.
Yeah.
He did some of that same work in St. Louis. He said the same things are going on in St. Louis, and did a video. And one of our
Mhm.
listeners reached out to me and said, hey, you should get this young man on your show. He's doing the same thing as Nick Shirley is up in Minneapolis. So I reached out to him. He came into the studio. I met him. I recognized that we had a very similar outlook on life. He's 34. I'm 56. He's incredibly bright and intuitive. He's got a degree in Bible study, which I'm always interested in the Bible. So we just stayed in contact. And when I left, I had 4 people that wanted to produce the show. What I found out was the other three wanted to be co-hosts of the show. They had no ability to produce it. And so as I'm talking to Isaiah, I'm like, oh, you're great. So you can be a co-host and you can produce the show. This is absolutely perfect. If you want it, it's yours. And he talked to his wife and came back the next day and said, I'm in. And here we are. We put this whole thing together in 4 days. Isaiah did. And it's not easy.
It was very fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, I'm glad that it worked out like that. It seems like it is going well for you, and I just hope it continues to go that way. I do just want to let people know real quick that if someone wants to catch you live, it is on Rumble and X, correct?
We are on Facebook, X, Rumble, YouTube, Spotify, and we just opened up our own website, therobbcartershow.com. You can listen live there, and you can catch the repeats there, the clips there, the writing there, everything's there.
Perfect. Okay. So I think about this a lot with, the difference in like radio and podcast. Do you feel like there is a big difference between radio and podcast still? Or because it seems like almost everything that's on radio, you can now listen to later. So what do you think the biggest difference is between the two?
The only difference for me is language. So I had Dr. Shiva. I don't know how many people know Dr. Shiva. He ran for president. He's running for Senate up in Massachusetts. The inventor of email. I had him on the show, and he curses every other word. And very colorful language. And when it was on the radio, he would do it, and I would cringe. I'd be like, no, doctor, you can't use that kind of language. When you're on a podcast, if people want to let it fly, I let them let it fly. That was one, and then the other was just the interruption of timed commercials. I'm somebody who wants to paint a picture and tell a story and give the whole thing, and you'd be right in the middle of it, and you look up at the clock and you're okay. I got to take a break. And it just disrupted my rhythm a little bit. If I could not have that rhythm disruption, I prefer it better. But that was really the only difference. It's basically the same premise.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I know I've just been so thankful. I mean, this is the first radio podcast type gig that I've ever had, and I've never had to deal with commercials or, any kind of interruptions or anything. JR, the guy that owns this and has put it all together, has done a great job, and it's just kind of been more of like a hobby for him that has been really beneficial, I think, for a lot of people. But it's just been, I can't imagine now going from what I've been used to here to trying to go into a normal setting where I would have to break for commercials or ads or whatever, because I feel the same way. It's like I want to be able to just have someone on and we just have an open conversation for however much time there's content to have the conversation and then be done. So
exactly. That's how I see it too.
Totally get it.
I think people enjoy the listening experience better when there's no interruption, when you can just talk and have a conversation and you're a fly on the wall with two people talking. I think it's just more entertaining. When you break it up with commercials every 12 to 18 minutes, it does chop up an interesting conversation, which I prefer. I like to just let it free flow.
Yeah, 100% agree. I know I was listening to Jimmy Fallon a few years ago quite a bit, and I would just listen to him on the radio, and it was like, oh my word, I feel like you literally just took a break, and you said 5 seconds of something, and now it's another break, and it just kind of got to the point where I was like, I just, like you said, I honestly am not really enjoying this anymore because there's too many breaks all the time.
Exactly. It's funny you say that because when Rush Limbaugh did his show, I was a Rush Limbaugh fan back in the day, and he would post it at night on YouTube. And he did a 3-hour show from 11 to 2. If people remember when Rush Limbaugh was on, he did it 11 to 2. And I would go back in, I would listen to the show with no commercials. It did it in podcast form, and he would post it on YouTube. It was an hour and 47 minutes. Think about that. It's a 3-hour show with an hour and 47 minutes of content. That's the one thing I told Isaiah. I said, 3 hours now is really 3 hours. You're giving 3 hours of content. So I find myself studying, Isaiah and I talk about it all the time. I get off the show, we went till 1 o'clock yesterday. We did 4 hours, but I'll get off the show and study for 6 or 8 hours just to do 3 hours of content the very next day, because you have to absorb it.
Oh, I believe it.
Right. You have to form an opinion on it. And you got to organize it so that it makes sense to the audience. This turned into just as much work as I was doing in the shoe business. I didn't think it would. I thought, you know what? I'll be done at noon. Life will be fine. And then I started to realize if I didn't study, I couldn't put on a show that people would want to listen to. So it's become consuming.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine. I was just going to ask you with Rush Limbaugh. So I was pretty young when he was, a big deal on air, and I just I just didn't listen to him. I didn't pay attention. I was homeschooled my whole life, and there were a lot of people in our circles that had that mindset of, like Rush Limbaugh was bad, basically. I don't even remember the reasoning why, but so I just had in my head like he just wasn't really someone to listen to. Well, several years later, I find out he was who he was, and my sister actually pointed me to a podcast, kind of like a tribute podcast that his producer, I think his name was Goldie, maybe.
I can't remember.
I
Isaiah,
can't
do you
remember.
remember the producer? I can't remember the producer's name.
No.
Yeah, but he did this, basically a tribute to Rush Limbaugh, and this whole series of it. It's really good. I don't know if you've listened to it before, but it's called The Man Behind the Golden Microphone. It's so good. But I remember listening to it, and I honestly was, really sad, because I was like, I feel like I just really missed out on listening to this iconic man that, he was alive when I was alive, obviously, and he was doing all this work, and I could have been listening to him, and I didn't. But anyway, it was a really good podcast series.
Yeah, I'll give you a funny story about that. The first time I ever heard Rush Limbaugh, I was driving out of Chicago, driving back to St. Louis. I was working in Chicago at the time. It was 1992. And I was driving out of Chicago into St. Louis, and I was flipping. I like talk radio. My father listened to talk radio growing up. So I like talk, even at 22 years old, I like talk radio. And I'm driving through, and I'm flipping through the stations, and I hear this guy. And the first thing I heard was a sentence that said, "And the Clintons are communists." He was talking about Bill and Hillary Clinton. He called them communists. I thought, okay, here we go. And I started listening to him, and I had, it's funny in today's world, because of all the different media outlets and the ability to get information. I'd never heard that kind of conversation at all on air anywhere. At 22 years old, when somebody was talking about other politicians being communists, you didn't hear that anywhere. You just didn't have that other perspective. And I don't agree with Rush Limbaugh on all of the things that he believed in.
Right.
But I'd never heard it before. It was the first time. If you think about it now in the year 2026, it seems very strange. But in 1992, you did not hear anybody, especially on radio, calling politicians communists. It was enlightening to me, and I started listening to him and listened to him pretty much from that point forward.
Yeah, interesting. All right, so I'd like to talk a little bit more about your event last night. That was last night, right? The Trump Days in Osage County.
Yes.
Okay, so how did you get asked to do that? Who reached out to you?
Woman's name is Linda Rantz. She is. She's with Cause of America. The biggest issue with me is elections. I make the commentary to everybody that will listen that you can get worked up over taxes, you can get worked up over the borders, you can get worked up over war, you can get worked up over the fake media, you can get worked up over anything. The only way to solve it through our system is representative government. And I am convinced, beyond any shadow of a doubt, that our elections here in Missouri and around the country are being manipulated, stolen. In certain cases, I'm sure they're stolen, but they're definitely being manipulated. And you can tell that because I started getting very critical of what's going on in Missouri, because we use tabulators in Missouri. They always go, we use the paper ballot. They don't really use a paper ballot. They use tabulators, and tabulators creates an image of the ballot. And they store those images, and you don't have a check and balance on the election the way you should. You don't have the mail-in ballots, the voter rolls. It's manipulated. And when you tell people, listen, there's a much better way to count votes. For example, you should have a state holiday. Why would we not have a state holiday for elections? Why wouldn't you just say, listen, if you can't get enough people to count votes, make it a state holiday, have the state pay for people to count ballots, and you'll have people lining up to count ballots. Make it patriotic. What is more important than a legitimate election and a constitutional republic? If you don't have legit elections, then you're not picking your leaders. And if you're not picking your leaders, you don't have representative government. Therefore, you're not free in our system. And you explain this over and over and over to anybody that will listen in the Republican Party, and they fight you on it. And I'm like, why are you fighting us on this? Didn't Donald Trump say that the elections were stolen in 2020? Barack Obama in 2012 said that he thought he would have a much better chance to win in Ohio because the Democrats had control of the machines. So you just look at
Yeah.
these conversations and you go, well, let's fix the elections and then we'll work it from there. Because if we have the right people in government, they'll fix some of these problems. And I'm sure you recognize, Nadine, we don't fix any problems. We just adjust problems or switch
Mhm.
problems from Democrat to
Mhm.
Republican, Republican back to Democrat. And I think wise people who pay attention to the system recognize that big money runs both sides of the aisle. And you're going to get policies that benefit the wealthy, the oligarchs in Missouri and around the country, that has no interest in what you want at all. And I mean, none. They do not care at all what you want. They care what they want. And then they have the politicians sell it to you. And they're doing it again now. And it's frustrating. The more like I said, if you have a background in marketing and propaganda, and then you watch it up close and personal, it gets more and more obvious. And when you call people on it, they get very upset with you. Because why? And I always say, why
Mhm.
would somebody in the Missouri House or Senate? I think their salaries are like $37,000 to $45,000. Why would they fight like rabid dogs to get into those positions?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you could go work just
Right.
about any job in America and make $35,000 to $45,000, but these people fight like it's the world coming to an end if they don't get the position. For what reason? Why would you
Mhm.
fight so hard? You fight so hard because you get in there, you get big PAC money into your campaign. When you do what the oligarchs want, you end up in lobby firms when you get out, or on the boards of organizations. You get connected to the most powerful people in the state, and it's. I want to curse because it makes me so mad.
Yeah.
And you basically
Yeah.
end up in a situation where everything that could be fixed doesn't get fixed, and politicians sell you on what they've done when in reality all they've done is maneuver around the edges, and they never fix any problems. For example, abortion was gone in the state of
Mhm.
Missouri. We had a super majority of
Mhm.
Republicans. Abortion was abolished, and you would think as a Republican that you'd want when Donald Trump overturned Roe v. Wade and the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, kick back to the original laws, which was abortion was outlawed in the state of Missouri. How does a supermajority of Republicans squander that?
Yeah.
Right. And now they're raising a ton of money for Amendment 3, which is better.
Oh, a ton of it.
Yeah, they're raising a
Yep.
ton of money, but it's a business. And I don't think many people see it. I don't think many people see what's going on because they're busy trying to raise their
Mhm.
families.
Mhm.
It's just you're working so hard that you don't have time to invest in understanding how the engine of politics works.
Right. Well, and I think that still, like, deep within most of us, people want to believe that the ones that are, quote, on our side have good intentions, when in reality it's like those are the ones that you really need to watch. I mean, you need to hold these people accountable. You can't just give them your money and then not pay attention to what they're doing. You can't just it's like you you have to make sure that they are staying accountable to what you gave them money to do. And if they're not, then you need to call them out on it. And that's exactly what being a good steward is supposed to do.
I think that's your duty, right, Nadine? For example,
Yeah.
I know you interviewed him, and you did a great interview, by the way, with Secretary of State Denny Hoskins. And I like Denny. I don't have any,
Oh.
I don't dislike Denny as a person. But Denny Hoskins, when he was running, said that he was running to get rid of the electronic voting systems, tabulators. He said it.
Mhm.
I got the clip if you want to hear it. And so he was the only person on radio, because I didn't do endorsements because I wanted to be, objective. But for me, that was Rob Carter took over, not the radio person, but me as a citizen. I said, okay, if you're going to
Right.
get rid of electronic voting systems, all of them in the state of Missouri, you're my guy. So I endorsed him.
Yep.
He won. And I had him on the show, and I said, we're running illegal elections in the state of Missouri. He agreed with me on air. He agreed with me. And I said, he said, but I need the legislature to pass the laws. I don't have the authority to pass legislation. And I said, Denny, why don't you get with Andrew Bailey, who at the time was the attorney general?
Yeah.
I said, why don't you just hold a press conference and say, listen, I cannot certify these elections because they're not being held legally. As the Secretary of State, I'm not going to certify these elections. And he said, Rob, I'm not a grandstander. I just don't, I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that. I'm not a grandstander. And I thought to myself, but that's what you ran on. You ran on getting rid of these
Yeah,
and I like Denny, and maybe he's understands it and more than I do. But as far as I'm concerned, if I was in that position, I'd be kicking and screaming and saying, even if the elections are pristine, even if they are pristine, both party leaderships, Donald Trump and Barack Obama, have both blamed electronic voting systems for manipulating elections. Either they're lying or telling you the truth, it doesn't really matter. You've lost confidence in big portions of
Yeah.
our society because they don't believe in the electronic voting systems. Fix it. Just fix it. It's easy.
Yeah.
And they don't want to fix it. And when they don't want to fix it, you have to ask, why don't they want to fix it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely. It is. It just gets very frustrating when it seems like the ones that go into it and you're like, yes, this is the one, they're going to do it. Like, we're confident that this is the one that's going to change everything. And then nothing, either nothing happens or the opposite happens. And it gets very tiring. And, it's like, it makes sense why people just start checking out of politics then, because it's, like you said, I mean, with election fraud, but then also with candidates that are frauds, honestly,
Oh, yeah.
like turn out to be frauds. And I'm not saying that specifically about a certain person, although there are several that I feel like I want to say that about. It's just, it gets frustrating and you want to just pull out and just focus on what you can somewhat have control over. And that's, your life and your family and all of these other things.
That's where most people are at. There's I
Right.
play a clip all the time of Barack Obama, and he talks about propaganda. And he says, propaganda isn't just the fact that somebody is lying necessarily. He said, propaganda is when the public square is, there's so much information coming at you from every different, there's so much information that is dumped on top of you that you don't know what to believe anymore. And I kind of think that's where society is at. They don't know what to believe. They
Yeah,
want to
I
believe
agree.
in any particular candidate or the Republican Party. If you're a liberal, the Democrat Party. But I think more and more people are independent thinkers, and I think it's beginning to erode what I would call the uniparty game between the Democrats and the Republicans. And over time, if society doesn't get better, if society's taped together, even if it's corrupt, if it's taped together, people will deal with it. If they can still eat and they have a roof over their head, they're going to deal with all the corruption. I used to interview a lady she'd come here from Russia, and it was during COVID, and she was an epidemiologist. And she was telling me that I said, "What's going on in the hospitals?" My wife is a nurse, and she said, "What's going on in the hospital with COVID was genocide." And I said, "Genocide?" She said, "Yeah, the protocols that they're using in the hospitals will kill you." And she brought me back to. She said, "Do you remember the AIDS epidemic?" I said, "Yeah, I was in high school. Of course, I remember the AIDS epidemic." She said, "Well, AZT was the drug they were trying to sell." She said, so they were basically telling everybody that they had HIV when they didn't have it, right? So you're not sick. You go get tested, especially if you were in the gay community at that time. You'd go get tested. They would tell you have no symptoms of anything. You feel fine. They tell you have HIV and you start taking AZT. She said AZT was a toxic agent to many people, and that's what was killing them. And then the movie came out, Dallas Buyers Club, and explains it perfectly. She said that's exactly what's going on in the hospitals. She said remdesivir is a toxic agent. It's destructive on the liver. I think she said liver and kidneys. And she said, so they're going to tell you if you have a respiratory virus and you're getting gunk in your lungs, right? Especially if you're overweight. She said it'll fill up your lungs. And she said, and they're going to tell you to sit at home for 2 weeks. She said, now that it's all getting clogged up in your lungs and your lungs are all tight, you're going to go in, you're going to be short of breath. They're going to tell you to go on a ventilator, which is going to suffocate you. They're going to put you on pain medication to get the ventilator in your throat, which further slows you down. And then they're going to give you remdesivir. And she goes, that is a toxic combination. She goes, you're going to recognize, and this was at the beginning. She said, you're going to recognize that the people that die are in the hospital. They're not dying at home. They're dying in the hospitals.
Yeah.
And I said, it's fascinating. I said, and I bring her up because I said, why in Russia, when they realized that the society was so corrupted from top to bottom, why didn't the people stand up and do something? And I'll never forget what she said because it struck a chord, and I see it now. She said, because so many people make a living off that corrupted system. And when you think about that, you just think about the media, the hospitals right now, with the consolidation of insurance. So now everybody's in a corrupted system and they accept it because if they get outside of that corrupted system, it's hard to make a living.
Yeah. Well, that's really sad, but it's very true.
I don't want to blackpill everybody, but we can fix it. Isaiah just said right before we came on, he said, all things are possible with God. All things are possible with Jesus. And I say, that's how I look at it. I don't get defeated, but it does make me work a little bit harder to get information out so people can at least contemplate it. If you're listening and you think I'm insane, just contemplate it, watch it over time, and you'll see that nothing really gets solved when the Republicans are in charge. They have a supermajority. Name some conservative legislation that they passed. Name anything that's conservative that they passed. Right. Just anything.
Right.
that actually works. And you're going to find that they added a gas tax under Republicans. When Parson was the governor of Missouri, came into St. Charles County, and they were talking about illegal immigration, and he should do something about the illegal immigration in St. Charles County. And he said, I can't do anything about that. That's a federal program. And I said, well, maybe you should check out the 10th Amendment, Governor. It's right in there. You can do something if you'd like to. It's right there in the Constitution if you'd like to take a peek at it. And, just the, I don't know if it is ignorance. I don't know if it's complicity. I'm not sure what it is, but something's going on around the country because it's every state. I mean, I go back and forth to Florida. I was just in Florida with the former Speaker of the House. I don't know if you know who Ann Vandersteel is. She was there, and they were a guy named Chris Gleason, who is he has all of the data of how many of the elections around the country are being stolen. And we were sitting around having lunch, and they were telling me the exact same things in Florida that go on in Missouri. I had Chris Gleason, he's running for Senate in Florida, and he said, Rob, because the way we run elections in Florida is not a lot different than the way they run them in California, other than perception. And I thought, it's interesting.
Really?
Yeah, when you're in a red state, you think everything's fine. The Republicans are in charge. They're conservatives, and they paint the image for you, so it shapes your perception. And then we hear about how corrupt everything is in Los Angeles, and they do it this way and they do it that way. He said it's just perception building. It's not real, because they run the elections very similar in Florida as they do in California. The only thing that's different is what you perceive in your own mind.
Yeah, absolutely. I know I've been thinking and saying that for the past couple of years now, that it honestly, sometimes I think that it's almost better when we start losing these Republican seats and they become Democrat, because I just feel like people actually start paying a little bit more attention when they don't think that there's these Republicans in these seats. Although, I mean, like you're saying, we have a Republican majority. We have supposedly a Republican governor. I mean, at least who's on the ticket as one. And so everyone just labels it as a red state. And it's like, there's really, like, California is really not worse. And in fact, I almost think that sometimes it's better there, because people are actually waking up and pushing back and trying to do something. And a lot of the people in the red states are just kind of like, oh, well, it's like, well, that's not happening to us. That's crazy California. It's like, they're literally the same. They're passing the same things here.
Well, look at elections, Nadine. Just think about it. The number one issue going into the 2024 election was elections, because the Republican voters believe that Donald Trump had the election stolen from him in 2020. That was the number one issue on the minds of Republican voters going into 2024. I pay attention to the Solari report and Catherine Austin Fitts, and she said Donald Trump will win in 2024. She said because he is aligned with the tech companies, and they want to bring in, she calls it the surveillance grid. And she said they'll want Donald Trump to be the president in 2024. She said, so he's going to win, and he's going to usher in the surveillance grid. So I thought about that, and I thought, well, that's an interesting concept. I said, let's see how this all plays out. Well, she turns out that she's right. And the very first day that Donald Trump was president, if you remember, he trotted out Sam Altman and Larry Ellison and introduced all these AI data centers that are popping up all over the country. It was called Stargate. And it was the very first day that he was president. And what happened to Republican voters? Right? Republican voters said Donald Trump won, and now you barely hear a word about election integrity. You do, but it's not at the top of everybody's mind. It's like number 6 or 7 on the list. But when Donald Trump lost and the election was stolen from him, it was the number 1 agenda item. When he wins, everybody in the Republican Party goes to sleep and said, elections are fine. See, Donald Trump won.
Yeah. Yep.
That's unfortunately the way it works, it appears.
Yeah, I know. It's, my husband says a lot that he really doesn't see a real change happening until things get really bad, like bad to the point of, where we don't want it, basically. Like,
I think he's right.
More of like a civil war. Yeah. And I'm just like, that's one of the things that I'm praying about a lot, is like, how can we, in this like amazingly free country that we have, because we are still free here in this country that we have, how can we make them, how can we really make the most of it and do what we're supposed to, either, as Christians and as just Americans? Like, how can we do these things without being pressed into losing it? You know what I mean? Like, how, because I don't want it. I don't want I don't want to live in persecution, and I don't want my kids and my grandkids and like I don't want that to be the future of our country. But from what we see in history, it's almost like people can't get to the place that they're supposed to be without there being some type of persecution and pressure and hardship. And it's like, but I really want to figure out how to switch that.
Well, I think your husband's right. My father always says we're still too
Yeah.
comfortable. We're still too comfortable.
Yep.
And I'll just give you an
Yep.
example of the way I think it is around the world and the perception that Americans have about our country, because we are the freest country in the world. I still believe that, and I love this country, and I work
Yeah.
hard to make it better. But generally speaking, when you get yourself into a society, one of the reasons our society is so prosperous is because we have the dollar, right? So we have the dollar, and that's
Mm.
where currencies are based on our dollar. So we have an enormous power economically over almost every country in the world. But if you look at the politics of it, have you ever heard the name Jeffrey Winehouse?
Yes.
Okay, so Jeffrey Winehouse sits in prison right now. He was an independent journalist in Franklin County, Washington, Missouri. He had discovered some information about the Missouri Highway Patrol. And so he went out and he interviewed some people that said they had relatives that were killed by the Missouri Highway Patrol. And one person, not the Highway Patrol, but one person in particular. And these families believed this cop had killed them on purpose, murdered them. So he starts reporting on it and believes it to be true, does the interviews, and he starts speaking out about corruption in Missouri with many of the politicians and the Missouri Highway Patrol. Make a long story short, they come to his home. They get a search warrant at his home because there are two officers there. One says that he smells marijuana. The other one says that he doesn't. And if you can imagine, this is 13, 14 years ago. They say they smell marijuana. The Missouri Highway Patrol calls and gets a search warrant. Okay. Marijuana. He smells marijuana. He's standing at the front door of this man's house, says he smells marijuana, gets a court-ordered search warrant because he says he smells marijuana, that he's knocking on somebody's private residence. They go in, they take his computers and his phones. Now, this is a journalist. This is how he makes his living. They take his phones and his computers away from him. And then about 2 or 3 weeks later, they call him up and say they want to return his phones and computers. And because they're out of their jurisdiction, if you can imagine this, they say that they want to meet him at this filling station out in the middle of nowhere, where even the even the police officer says it's generally abandoned. Right? It's open, but it's in the small town out in the middle of nowhere. They're going to meet him there when nobody's there. So Jeffrey Winehouse is very concerned. He's scared of this particular police officer, and he puts on a spy watch. So now he's videoing everything from driving up to this filling station to get his phones and computers back, videotapes the whole thing. He gets out of his car as he's going to get his phones and computers back. He's all excited to get his phones and computers back, try to get his pastor to go with him, family members, but he just, the time frame didn't work, so he has to go by himself. He's videotaping everything from his spy watch. He gets out of the car, and in 12 seconds, the police officer that did the search warrant, or said he smelled marijuana in his car, shot him twice in the chest and twice in the forehead, lied about it openly. I mean, because it's videotaped, you see exactly what happened. And Jeffrey Winehouse survived. Jeffrey Winehouse survives.
What?
Yeah, he survives 2 shots to the forehead and 2 shots to the chest. And because he survives, about 6 weeks after he gets out of prison, they arrest him. He's been in prison for 13 years. And listen to the charge. The charge is that he shot the cops. He's in prison, videotaped the entire thing. I've told every Republican in the state of Missouri that I can talk to about this particular situation, and they've done nothing. So you have an independent journalist, and the reason it strikes at my heart, Nadine, is because this is what I do. This is what Isaiah and I do. This is what we do. Shot him twice in the chest, twice in the forehead. He videotaped the entire thing. You can watch it. You can watch it on YouTube. It's called The Silencing of Bulletin Man. It's the craziest story in the world. This man sits in prison for 13 years. He's been attacked twice in prison, had half his ear cut off. It's an unbelievable story. You would think that Governor Kehoe would see that and would give him clemency, like right now, this minute, immediately, because it's such a miscarriage of justice. We can't get him out of prison. It's went all the way to the Supreme Court of Missouri. This guy can't get out of prison. And the reason I say that, back to the original point, is everywhere you go, you're relatively free. You're not
Mm.
free when you challenge a tyrannical government. That's the difference
Yeah.
between our country and others. Is we always believed that we had representative government, and if you didn't like what was going on, you just go to the ballot box, pick your representatives, and you can make change. In other countries where they're authoritarian or have different governmental structures, you're okay in almost every country in the world. Now, might not be as economically prosperous as the United States because of the dollar, but you're relatively free. The times that you get in trouble is when you mess with power. And I would submit to you, if you watch the Jeffrey Winehouse case, it's the same here in this country. If you can't get a man that
Yeah.
videotaped his own execution out of prison, he's got it on videotape what happened. Are we really that much different?
Oh
Because all
man.
he did was challenge power. When you challenge power, that's when
Mhm.
that's when they plant things on your computers. That's when they plant things on your phones. That's when they put you in prison for things. That's when all of a sudden you die of a heart
Yeah.
attack. Look at all the journalists that have died in this country.
Yep.
Look at Andrew Breitbart. You know, a lot of these
Yep.
people that were telling on the powerful in this country, they end up in not such a good position. And I think it's sad. I think we have to adjust it. I think people should be less afraid and more interested in preserving our freedoms, and a freedom to be critical of your government, the freedom to investigate your government, the freedom to tell on
Mhm.
your government, whistleblow on your government. And because of what I do, Nadine, I've had so many stories told to me that are it's heartbreaking, the
Yeah.
things that are going on in
Yeah.
this state. Heartbreaking. Just businesses destroyed, lives destroyed, people murdered. And it's happening in the state of Missouri. And if there's more to the story, then the Republican Party's keeping it secret, because I've told them all and nobody has responded to me, all the way up to, and he's a friend of mine, David Wassinger. I worked on his campaign.
Yeah.
When I interviewed him, I told him the entire story, and maybe he's working on it. You know, I don't know. I love David. I think he's a great guy. But if I'm in a position of power in the state of Missouri, I'd be doing a press conference on it today and saying, we got to get this man out of prison.
Yeah. It just doesn't make sense that it wouldn't be happening.
Right.
You
Right.
even
I mean,
told Bob
that's
Onder,
like,
Rob.
I told Bob Onder, we went to DC, and I'm
mm,
walking along the street. I told Bob Onder, so Bob Onder knows. I think everybody that is friendly to our show, we've told
Dan
the story
Wagner's
to,
staff knows as well.
and Wagner's staff knows. Everybody knows, and nobody will say
man.
a word about it. And I don't understand it. I don't understand why. You know, I always say there are easy political wins. If you're a political
Yeah.
person, you're always looking for political wins. If the elections are real and you want to get people to get in behind you and support you, what would give people more confidence in a political figure who got an innocent man out of prison? You could get all of the media attention from that. You could do a lot with it.
Mhm.
They won't touch it.
Mhm.
Nobody will touch it.
Mhm. Man. Yeah. It just screams to me like, how deep does this go? That it's making everybody shut up about it.
Well,
It just,
I'll give you some things that you may not know. I don't know if you know these things, Nadine. Missouri is one of only 2 states that does not live stream from the Senate.
yes.
We had the last night at the Osage Republican meeting that we had. We are the third largest, or the money flowing in to affect our elections and to affect what goes on within our elections. Missouri is the third state, according to
Mm.
Ben Brown. We bring in the third most amount of money from outside sources from around the world and from outside of this country into Missouri. We are the third largest beneficiary of outside money, outside of our country's money, to affect our elections in the state of Missouri.
Oh.
So what's in Missouri that they want? There's
Yeah.
something in Missouri what they want, I think, is probably resources, water,
Yep.
cobalt. There's things that they want, and they want control over those resources, and you're not supposed to know about it.
Yeah. Ugh. So at last night when that was brought up about the no live streaming in the Senate, what was the response of people?
It's a crazy story because David Wassinger is the one pushing it, the lieutenant governor.
Uh-huh.
He was the one that was pushing the story, and I'm told that it is going to get done in the next session. My
Good.
commentary was when Mike Moon brought it up. Mike Moon said he's the most conservative senator in Missouri. When he brought it up, I don't know why they didn't put it on the schedule right away and get it done. I mean, think about it. You have flock safety cameras everywhere, right?
Yeah.
My son, I'm on his street. I'm driving by and I see this big, huge camera right down the street from his house. I said, "Did you know that there's a flock safety camera right on your street?" And he goes, "No, really? Where?" And I said, it's like 4 doors down. I mean, it's this huge structure with this big
Yeah.
camera right
Right.
on top of his home. They have kill switches in the cars. I don't know if you saw the Ford commercial where the guy went down through all of the
Mhm.
stuff that are in Ford cars. They basically can listen to every word you say, so they can spy on you through your phone, through your computer, through your television. Flock safety cameras. They're building AI data centers, which will allow the whoever's in control of that system to not only spy on you, but to be able to store that information on you forever. So if you did something when you were 21 years old that you're ashamed of because you were a young kid and out partying and did something crazy, that could be on video anywhere and be held against you at any time in your life. Does that give the government a little bit too much power? It does for me. So you have AI data
Yep.
centers, flock cameras, 702 warrantless searches. The whole thing is crazy. We're turning into a surveillance state, and our
Yep.
citizens. I'm not doing anything wrong. This is the way they look at it. I said, well, that's what China says then, because China does their business the
Uh-huh.
exact same way. So if you're not worried about it and you want to be surveilled and you want to give up your Fourth Amendment rights to privacy, then continue on.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like one of the most annoying things when people are like, well, if you don't have anything to hide, why do you care? And it's like, because that's not their intention. Like their intention isn't just to try and catch bad guys. There's a longer scheme going on here. Like please just look at history and then maybe look at the lens of the future, and you will see that what is coming from this, like of course they're gonna sell it to you like, oh, this is to crack down on crime, which it isn't, by the way. It's not making a difference. And
Right.
that's like like that's what's gonna come from this is like, even like I'm not in agreement with a lot of stuff that's happening right now with the current administration, because I think that there is a lot of like spy preparation happening right now. But if you want to look at it as like, when someone else that you maybe for sure don't align with anywhere politically, it's like, how are they going to use these surveillance cameras? You really think they're only going to use them when to try and catch a criminal? No, like there is an agenda happening here, and people are just so head in the sand. It drives me nuts.
Well, think about it. This is the way I explain it, and tell me if you like this. Just to put it in perspective, you have a country that is creating war all over the world. I'll just say that. All right. If you believe that the war in Iraq was a good thing when we couldn't find the weapons of mass destruction and killed a half a
Mm.
million people and displaced millions around the world, fine. Then you have the war in Syria, where Israel is bombing Lebanon right now with American weapons. The whole Middle East has been in upheaval since I can ever remember. Okay, so we're creating
Mhm.
war. We're creating now. We say we're in a terror war, right? So we remember the war on terrorism. We all remember that, right? Under Bush.
Yeah.
So you have a
Yep.
war on terrorism. You leave the borders wide open to where millions of people can enter the interior of our country,
Yep.
right? So you have a war on terror, borders wide open. Okay, this is your country doing this. And by the way, the millions of people that have flooded into this country, that is unconstitutional. The federal government is supposed to protect our borders from an invasion. If you have 14 million people here illegally, would that be an invasion? And if that's an invasion, then whoever's supposed to be protecting our borders has committed treason. No accountability whatsoever. Those people that left your borders wide open, created war, stuck a needle in your arm by mandate, put a mask on your kid, consolidated education in 1980. They passed the Smith Modernization Act in 2012, 2013, which allowed the federal government to create propaganda and sell it to their own citizens, which was a reversal of the Smith Modernization Act, which went into effect
Hmm.
after World War II because our country and our legislators back then recognized that's what the Nazis did to their people. Now
Yeah.
we're doing exactly what the Nazis did to their people in this country. It's obvious, except it's never put into perspective to where people can see it. And those people that left your borders wide open, put masks on your children, consolidate education, passed the Smith Modernization Act, spy on you with the warrant, and now they want to have total control with AI data centers and the storage of information. You're going to give that entity that did that to your people, you're going to give them complete and total surveillance over your society, and nobody's pushing back on it. I mean, I just asked, is that logical? Does that make sense? And if it doesn't, and I'm 56 years old, if it doesn't, where is our generation to save this free country for the future generations? Because for me, it's a duty. Yeah, I have a
Yeah.
duty to make sure that, if I've studied this stuff all day and I make a living doing this, and thank God for my advertisers and sponsors because they make it, they've been so wonderful to me, sticking by my side for all this time. And that's why I want to repay. I said, you know what? I have a duty I know Isaiah feels the same way. We have a duty to get this information out. That's all we can do. I can't do any more than get out information, try to organize people and say, listen, we have a great country. Our forefathers fought hard to give us freedom. World War I, War II veterans, that the bravest people in the history of the world fought for this country so that we could be free. And we're going to allow it to be stolen right underneath our nose and cheered on and give money to people that are doing this to us without even paying attention. Doesn't seem very American to me. I'll put it to you that way.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the things that really has just bothered me so much for several years is there's a lot of Christians that sit inside their four walls and say, that's not our fight, or we're too busy, or there's these ministry things we're doing, which as a follower of Christ, I 100%, my first priority is to glorify God and share the gospel. But right after that, it's like to be a good steward of what he's given me, and that's this country and my family and the people around me and my community and all of these things. And it doesn't, it makes me so mad that it's like these people sitting inside four walls are thinking like, oh, well, we just need to stay focused in here. And yet outside the walls, there's this terror happening and freedoms are being taken away. And it's like, do you not understand that if you don't start taking action now, there will not be four walls anymore. There will not be ministries that you can do, because that's what they're going to come after. Like, they're not going to allow you to freely worship anymore. So you have to start like getting involved and taking a stand and taking action, especially when you're uncomfortable, because otherwise it's all going to be taken from you. And then you really won't have that to do anymore. Like, everybody's busy. Everybody has things going on. But the point is if you don't just step up and say that has to go on hold for a few minutes while I protect the freedom to do it, then, I don't know. It's just so frustrating to me. I get really, really frustrated with organized religion in this country. Very,
Yeah,
a lot frustrated.
big time. Can I get organized religion? Can we go there for a minute?
Yeah.
I'll talk a little bit about organized religion. Just things that I noticed, and I'd be curious your opinion. I'm curious everybody's opinion, because I want to be objective when I talk about Amendment 3. This is the new abortion. We talked about it earlier when we were talking. So on A3, just people have to remember the history of what's going on, right? So abortion was eliminated in the state of Missouri. A woman by Mary Elizabeth Coleman, Republican, who used to be a Democrat when she was in Texas. Then she comes to Missouri, and all of a sudden she's a Republican. They give this bill to her. She sabotages her own IP reform bill, right, which allowed this to go to the voters, and all the outside money came in. We overturned the abortion laws, and now we have abortion on demand. That's the backdrop of it. Okay. Yeah. Then you have all these grassroots organizations that come in and they make a living off, in my opinion, again, Isaiah, is it still free to have an opinion? I just want to make sure it's still free to have an opinion.
So far, so good.
So far, so good. Okay. This is my opinion. And so long as I'm free to have it, I believe that these grassroots organizations make money off the issue. It's kind of like an illness. If you cure the illness, then it's over. It's done, right? I see the abortion issue around the country being the same way. If you cure the abortion conversation, there's no money to be made. It's over. So you have all these abortion grassroots, I would put that in quotation marks, organization coming in and supporting A3. And they support it as though it's going to be a stepping stone to reversing abortion. And I think most of the people that are in those organizations believe what they're saying. They fight for it hard. And if you disagree with them and say, listen, A3 says that if you are rape, incest, fetal anomalies are the exceptions to the rule. And you say, okay, at least it's in a step in the right direction. We're going to save more babies if we pass this law. What most people don't understand, that are just average citizens who are not paying attention, is it puts it into our Constitution that fetal anomalies, rape, incest, any of these abortions, now it creates a subcategory of people that can be, or babies or fetuses, however you want to look at it, that can be eliminated from the world, right? It puts it right into the Constitution. So now you have a moral argument. Do you pass A3, which says these children over here that were born out of rape or incest can be killed, right? And most Christians would say no. Well, I go to Grace Church with my father. So when I come to town, I go to Grace Church, and I like Grace Church. I like Ron Tucker very much. Grace Church
Mm-hmm.
trots out Adam Schnelting. Adam Schnelting is the author of the Amendment 3. And they all cheer for
Right.
him because A3 is going to eliminate 99.7% of abortions, which is just complete, can I say bullpucky? Is that a word? It's complete nonsense, right? So, but that's what they say. And then everybody at Grace Church gets up, and these are all good, well-meaning people, and they start clapping, love Adam Schnelting. You're going to get rid of 99.7% of abortions, which is just made up out of whole cloth. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And then everybody supports A3. On the other hand, you have Mike Moon, who wanted to pass the personhood bill, which basically said life begins at conception. And we're going to go right back to the way the laws were when we had no abortion whatsoever. All right. Now, I don't want to get into the moral argument, but Grace Church wouldn't let Mike Moon speak.
Right.
They would let Adam Schnelting speak, but they wouldn't let Mike Moon speak. And I keep thinking to myself, as much as I love Grace Church, it's just been this kind of knot in my stomach that if we're Christians and we believe where life begins, then why would we be championing a legislation that would put a subcategory of babies into this box over here to where they can be aborted? It just doesn't make any sense. And I always ask myself, why would that be? And I don't want to get into motives, but you can only imagine that either they don't know, they're being, they don't understand the language within the bills. There might be money coming in from people that are big donors to certain churches. There has to be a reason why you would not allow Mike Moon to speak on behalf of the personhood bill, because if the personhood bill was explained to all of the churches around the state of Missouri, and people that were proponents of it could go into all of the churches and say, listen, this is what we want to do. This is what A3 is. This is what we want to do. Which would you prefer? Don't you think most Christians would say that life begins at conception, and they would prefer the personhood bill? But they don't even get to hear it. They don't even get to hear the argument. So.
Right. Yeah. They don't really know what it is, which that's why, I've been working with some other people, including Mike Moon, to try and go to different places around the state to have these forums about Amendment 3 and personhood, because people need to be educated about what it is that they're voting on, especially in these kind of decisions that it's like, one side is pushing it pretty hard, and so far they've been unwilling to come out and debate about it to defend why their position is the right position. And, we just want people to be able to make a well-educated decision after they've gotten all the information. And part of that information includes the personhood amendment. And I'm right there with you. It's like, people that are pushing Amendment 3 are trying to act like, well, it's better than what we have. First of all, I don't agree with that. But second of all, I didn't put the first Amendment 3 in there. I worked really hard alongside a lot of the people that are now promoting the new Amendment 3 to defeat the old Amendment 3. And I'm not I didn't want to vote for abortion in 2024. And I still don't want to vote for abortion in 2026, which is absolutely 100% what a yes vote on the new Amendment 3 is. It is a yes vote on abortion. Like, you can try and rearrange the wording however you want, but it still says, yes, I am saying it is okay to abort, meaning murder, babies that are conceived in rape and incest and that possibly have a fetal anomaly. Like, you are saying yes to abortion. There's no way around that. And I'm same as you, like the whole, it'll save 99% blah 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 of babies, that's really a ridiculous argument, because most everybody knows that almost 70% of abortions are chemical abortions right now.
That's right.
And I also, it's like, I don't care if it saves 99% of babies. I care still about the 1%. Like, I care about 100% of the babies, and I'm still not going to vote for abortion in 2026. So we have to do better than that. We have to.
And no debate. That's the thing. When I was on the radio, the people that were behind personhood said, Rob, so-and-so wants to debate the people that are pushing, Kate Sickles is a big proponent of A3. And again, this is not personal. I think these people are well-meaning. I'm not saying that they, I understand their point of view. I do. So it's not I'm taking A3 over this. I'm just saying, why would the churches And why would they not have the debate? And why would the A3 people not want to take the debate? Because I tried for almost a month trying to get the advocates for A3 to simply bring out the language of the bill, debate it with the personhood side, and have a conversation about it to see where the public was at. And they wouldn't do it. And I always say, you know, my perception of things is, if you're unwilling to have a conversation about a topic, if you're unwilling to debate, that means that your argument has too many holes and you don't want to take the risk of putting your argument in front of the people. And that's why I get very frustrated with these politicians that won't debate, starting with Donald Trump. You know, Donald Trump didn't debate in the primaries. He went on Tucker Carlson when they were debating. Byron Donalds down in Florida will not take debate. The woman who is now the governor of Katie Hobbs in Arizona would not debate. In fact, she was getting so much pressure to debate Carrie Lake that she came out and she said, the debate about debates is over. I'm not debating. I don't need to debate. I'm not debating. And I kept thinking to myself, how in the world? And they always win, right? Mike Kehoe didn't debate when he ran for governor. Remember Bill Eigel and Jay Ashcroft and Wright were having a debate and Governor Kehoe didn't show up. I keep noticing that if you just, let's just use our logic and say, you know what, you can't be
Ed Galrine in Kentucky too.
Ed Galrine would not debate Thomas Massey. Thank you, Isaiah. See, Isaiah is my conscience. But just think about this. If you don't debate and you're winning and we have questions about the elections, can we deduct that maybe the elections are being manipulated so the people that don't debate know they don't have to debate because they're going to win anyway? Why would you, in a tight race like Carrie Lake and Katie Hobbs, that was a tight race in Arizona, you had a tight race between Ed Galrine. I call him Ed Galrine-Stein. That's just my nickname for him. But Ed Galrine and Thomas Massey, they wouldn't debate. He wouldn't debate. Does that make any sense? Why would a guy named Ed Galrine, who has no political experience whatsoever, going up against a very popular congressman in Thomas Massey, why would Galrine not want to debate? And then he wins. I would assume Byron Donalds will be the next governor of Florida. Katie Hobbs wins. Donald Trump wins. Governor Kehoe wins. It's very odd to me that you don't have to debate and you win. And I could understand it if you say, from a political standpoint, I have such a big lead, I could only hurt myself in a debate. But several of these conversations, these people were polling basically 50-50. How can you be in a 50-50 situation and not want to get your ideas out in a debate? And I would think, and they always win. The people that don't debate, the people that refuse the debate, continue to win. And it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, again, to me, it sounds like, well, the corruption is deep there, and they already know that they're going to win. And basically, if they do go out to debate, they're the people behind them are scared that they're going to say the wrong thing.
Right. One of my listeners, Nadine, one of my listeners says Dr. Wes Scroggins says, I hear Wes Scroggins won't debate. Somebody in our feed says that.
That's the VP of Freedom Principle.
Well, I'll say this: Wes Scroggins is the one that was asking for the debate, so I know that is that's not true at all. He was the one that contacted me, and his people contacted me for a debate with Kate Sickles.
Yeah. Carrie Wells is the VP of Carrie Wells is the VP of Freedom Principle. Rob.
I didn't know that, but I'm saying, so this is my experience, Carrie. I don't know where you're coming from on this, and but I'm telling you that's my experience. I was being pressured to create a debate when I was on Real Talk, and they wanted that debate. They were aggravating me to get that debate. That's my experience with it. So if Kate Sickles or the proponents of A3 want to do a live debate on Nadine's show, you do it. Wouldn't you, Nadine? Wouldn't you like to have a live debate between the people that are proponents of A3 and the Parenthood? Wouldn't you like to have that debate on your show?
Yeah, I would definitely host a debate.
There you go. Carrie, just make it happen.
Yeah.
We'll get Wes.
Yeah, you're saying that's Carrie Wells that is saying Dr. Wes Scroggins won't debate?
Correct.
Okay, I'm just going to call out Carrie Wells right now because that is a lie, and you know it. And if you are actually going to sit here on air and say that Dr. Wes Scroggins won't debate, then you better call Dr. Wes Scroggins or email him right now, because I know that he has contacted you. And you better agree to a debate right now, because everybody is going to hear this and they're going to know that you are a liar. So let's have it out. If you want to debate, if you're going to agree to a debate, then reply to Wes Scroggins' email.
I think it's that simple. Again, I don't know Carrie. I don't know Carrie.
Looks like he did. He just posted the email reply. So he responded, it looks like 2 or 3 days ago to to him. He's saying that's what he pasted here in the chat. He pasted the email response. So looks like they might be getting something set up.
Excellent.
Excellent.
Carrie, I think that's a
All
great
right.
idea.
Well, then thank you, Carrie.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
I applaud.
It's about time.
Thank you. I agree. I applaud. I think anybody that's willing to defend their position, even if they lose the debate, if they're willing to defend their position, that's a good thing. So, Carrie, I appreciate it. If you do that, and Nadine, I would love to see it on your show. I think that'd be fantastic for your audience to hear that debate, because I think it's worthy of the debate. If you are for saving babies, right, and you believe you have the best method to save the most babies, let's do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's the thing: is like I don't care if I agree with you or I disagree with you. I just want to be able to have a conversation about it. Like, I want you to be able to share your side. I want to be able to share my side. I want us to be able to listen to each other. And then I want us to be able to walk away and shake hands. Like, I just can't stand this whole, like, it just feels like there's more and more things that keep causing division. And I'm just like, I don't like that. So I am, Carrie, I'm grateful. If you replied to Dr. Wes Scroggins' email and you're agreeing to a debate, excellent. Thank you very much. Let's move forward with it, and let's get a debate set up, and let's actually try and do what's best for the people of Missouri.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Carrie,
Carrie, you did lie. We're not going to apologize for your lie. You did lie. You have right here on the screen, I just put it. You said Wes Scroggins won't debate. You did lie. So just wanted to, he's asking now, Nadine, I know you can't see it, but he said, you going to apologize for calling me a liar? Just got to call you out, Carrie. You did lie.
Yeah. No, sorry. There's no apology for calling you a liar when you actually did just lie.
I was going to say, because if that, all I know is what was going on with me. I know that the Wes Scroggins and his team were trying to get me to get a debate with, and I think it was Kate Sickles at the time. And I like Kate. Kate goes to, I like Kate. I'm not somebody who dislikes Kate, but they were trying to get a debate. I tried to make it happen at the time and couldn't get it done. And that's where I left. I left Real Talk right after that, and I don't think I've heard much more about it. But if you guys want to do a debate, we should do it. Whether people had, wherever it was coming from, I still think it's good for the people of Missouri to hear that debate. And I'll leave that alone.
Yeah, 100%. I absolutely believe that. I do want to talk to you about something else, totally different subject, but I'm really curious because I knew that you had taken a trip to DC last week or something like that.
A couple weeks.
And I did not know that it was with former Representative Massey and the USS Liberty survivors. So I love to hear more about that.
Well, I'll let Isaiah brag, because Isaiah does the social media for us. How many views have we had of that interview with Thomas Massey?
Man. I mean, on our own channels, a few million, but with other clips and people cutting it up, it's about 100 million, I would say.
Yeah. So here's the way the story went down. Yeah, it was crazy. Isaiah is better with social media than I am. I think I'm the worst in the world at social media. So Isaiah is the one that spreads the information. So we were contacted. I interviewed Phil Turney. I don't know if people know who Phil Turney is, but he had the #1. It was the most popular show that Candace Owens ever did. Because he came out of the darkness and did an interview with Candace Owens and said that he was an eyewitness to Israel bombing the USS Liberty on June 8th, 1967. And he said it was intentional. And, you had everybody coming out that think Israel is the greatest country in the world, our greatest ally, and so forth. And I don't want to get into that conversation. I'm going to tell you what Phil Turney said. Phil Turney said that they watched the Israeli pilots fly around them, dip their planes. They thought they were protected by Israel, right? So they thought they were being protected by Israel because that was their ally. The USS Liberty was a spy ship with an American flag flying high and American letters all around the outside of the ship. He said they left, and within a short amount of time, blacked out planes came in. I think they were called French planes, right, Isaiah? They French planes?
Yeah, they were French.
Blacked out planes came in and started bombing the USS Liberty. So they don't even know what's going on. They assume
dropping napalm bombs.
Yeah, dropping napalm bombs. They think it's Egypt that is bombing them, because this is in the middle of the war between Egypt and Israel. I was at the 6-Day War, I believe. And he said within a short amount of time, after they're bombing them, just killing, I think they killed 34 people that day and wounded another 174. He said then came the torpedo ships. And he said the torpedo ships surrounded the Liberty. And they could see the Star of David symbol on it, all right, on the torpedo ships. and then a torpedo hit their ship, killing 34. That killed 25 people instantly when the torpedo hit their ship, and it wouldn't go down.
Mm.
And now they have generals, they have people from the CIA, they have all kinds of witnesses and people that were involved that said Israel intentionally was no accident, because the official story is that it was an accident. They
Right.
say that it was, and they had, I think, 15 or 16 people with us, Isaiah, when we went to DC. There were about 15 or 16
Yeah,
people,
15, I believe.
and they're all singing the same song. And the reason they're singing it is because we have such an alliance with Israel, and they claim that
Yeah.
Israel is not our greatest ally in the world, that they are a danger to America. And now we're sharing technology with them, we're sharing intelligence with them. We fund the IDF, so American taxpayers is paying for soldiers over there. These are all bills that are out there in the world coming from our Congress. And so it was their 59th anniversary. I had interviewed Phil Turney subsequent to that. So he tells that story. I interviewed him multiple times, and I happen to have just like Phil. I got into conversations with him. He seemed very genuine to me. He said, "Rob, I'm 79 years old. I want to get this information out before I die. This is very important to the USS Liberty survivors that this story get out." So on a Friday, we just got done with the show, and I see that Thomas Massey puts out onto social media that he is going to give a speech on the House floor on Monday about the USS Liberty survivors. So I know Phil and I know his management team, and I send a message to him and I said, "Hey, is Phil and the USS Liberty survivors going to be in DC for this announcement by Thomas Massey?" And I don't hear from him all day. I start talking to Isaiah. I said, "Well, if they're doing this, we got to go." So about 6 or 7 o'clock that night, I get a message from this guy's the management guy, Ray. He says, "Rob," he goes, "I've got a hold of all of the people. We're working with Thomas Massey's team, but I think we're going to go on Monday. We're going to get the team up there because they're in the area anyway for a reunion, and we can go right into DC. We can make it happen." So we scrambled. We got all of our equipment together. Isaiah flew in from St. Louis. I drove up from Florida, and we had exclusive coverage. They told us that we would have exclusive coverage. The team at USS Liberty said, "It's yours. Come on up. You guys have been good to us. You'll have the exclusive coverage." So we go into Thomas Massey's office, and I like Thomas Massey. I like him as a person just based on some things I see. I always, when something's emotional, for some reason, it catches my eye. So as Thomas Massey has all of these 80-year-old men surrounding him with their wives, and everybody's in this room, and Isaiah's got the camera out. I got my phone out. He's got the real equipment. I got the camera. Thomas Massey begins to address these heroes, in my opinion, these USS Liberty survivors. And right as he starts to speak, you could kind of see the gravity of the situation in Thomas Massey. And just for a split second, he had to catch himself because he started to break. He started to cry. And he started to break, and then he caught his composure, and he went on and he got all of the information from the USS Liberty survivors. Then he took them into the House chambers, and he gave a speech about the information being hidden, that has been hidden since June 8th, 1967.
And I got to cut in here, Rob. It was
Go ahead.
incredible the amount of information that because we were with him the whole time from in the room. He asked for the story from them. He said,
right.
"This is what I know so far, but I want to hear from you guys." They told him for 30 to 40 minutes. They just spewed information at him. And he might write down a chicken scratch here and there, and his staffers had left at this time. And so 40 minutes of information just being thrown at him. And then he walks us to the House floor. So it's not like he's preparing anything. And then he gets there and gives this amazing speech that
5 minutes. He had to
5
compile
minutes.
all of that information into a 5-minute
All
speech.
of that information. And so I just had to cut in there and just add
Wow.
that. That was pretty incredible.
Yeah, I agree. He nails his speech. He made the USS Liberty survivors very proud. And then we got to spend the day with them. Thomas Massey took us down the street to lunch. Who was the other one? Daryl Issa.
Daryl Issa yelled at us when we were in the house. He had to gavel it down.
That's funny. This is interesting when if you think that people are good, because you want to find good people within our system. Daryl Issa, as soon as Thomas Massey got done speaking, everybody started clapping. There was like a tour going on. There's not many people in chambers, but there was a tour going on in the audience. And then we had the USS Liberty survivors and their family that were invited by Thomas Massey. And as soon as he got done speaking, because it was the first time that anybody in our government has acknowledged the USS Liberty survivors, 59 years later, first time anybody had acknowledged them. So they started clapping, and you're not supposed to make any noise when you're in the House chambers. So Daryl,
I will note that the visitors started clapping first.
Yes,
not the Liberty survivors.
That's right. They didn't even know what was getting ready to happen, and they started clapping. So Daryl Issa, who's running the proceedings, starts to hit the gavel, slams the gavel down. He waits for a little bit. He lets everybody clap for a little bit. Then he bangs the gavel down. He says, "We have to have decorum in the chambers. Please don't clap, this and that and the other." But he was so bothered by that because when we played that, I don't know if you saw that one of our supporters said, "Who is this guy? What is he doing? He shouldn't be gabbing." They're upset at Daryl Issa. And I think he must have recognized that he's politically astute. So when Thomas Massey took us down the street and brought all the Liberty survivors to this restaurant that we were going to have lunch at, his staff paid for the meal and everything else. Daryl Issa came down, walked in, and basically said, "I have to do that. I want to apologize. I want to be very respectful. I just had to gavel down. That's what I have to do as I'm presiding over the house. That's what I have to do." But took his time to come down there and apologize to these men, which I thought was really nice. And it was just a wonderful day. It was it's a day I'll never forget. And I got to interview Massey as we were walking, and I asked him about the surveillance state. I said, 702 FISA warrants, kill switches on your cars, flock cameras, AI data centers. What can we do to stop the surveillance state? And I think it caught him off guard. Isaiah always says, "I don't think many people ask questions, the same kind of questions the way you do." So it kind of caught him a little bit off guard. And he said,
it's the questions he wants to be asked that people aren't
asking. Exactly. I think
Yeah.
you're right, because he's on the same page with us. And he said, the only thing I can think of is mass compliance. And then I hesitated for a second. And right as I began to speak, he said, "And I don't even know if that'll work." He's basically saying that this is happening. And he said they're doing it at the state level. They're overrunning the city councils. And we see that right here in Missouri. I don't know if it's happening in your area, but all over our area, nobody wants these AI data centers, and the governments don't care. They're building them and just ignoring the people and the complaints and the signs and the letters and everything else. And they just keep building it. But that was the story. It was, we spent time with Thomas Massey, Phil Turney and his group from the USS Liberty. And Isaiah, wasn't that a great day, Isaiah?
Fantastic. It was great we got to, we even got to meet Randy Fine and had a cordial interview with him, which is, people wouldn't believe that because of just our views of Randy Fine and how we disagree with him on a lot of stuff. And so it was something that kind of was revealing of that whole trip, was how easy it is to gain access to these people.
Yes.
But there's not a lot of people trying. And so when we did the press conference, Thomas Massey's staff told all the press. I mean, Fox News knew, CNN knew, everyone knew that we were doing a press conference, and they had about an hour to an hour and a half heads up that we were going to do this press conference in DC. And you know who showed up was Newsmax and TMZ and us. That was it. And so that's pretty telling to me that it's easy to gain access. You can get access immediately. You can get layups like this, but the mainstream media won't recognize it. And Robb actually got to ask the last question at the press conference, which was, Massey, why are the mainstream media ignoring this? What's the problem here? This should be a huge story. And he essentially said, hey, they're afraid that they'll lose the inner room access, because there is inner room access there. There's places that Robb and I could not go as independent journalists that quote unquote credentialed journalists can go into, right? And those credentials could be revoked. And so that's what he was essentially explaining to us, is that's their fear, is that they'll lose that inner circle access and kind of be kicked to the curb.
Yeah. And I think it's, if I was to extrapolate what he said, I believe what's going on is the people that run the media don't want that story out. And for whatever reason, they don't want that story brought to the attention of the American citizens. And, what's even crazier about that, Nadine, subsequent to that trip to DC, I've been, telling people that are in media about the story. I've been telling people in my life about the story. They don't care. Isn't it crazy? They don't care.
Newsmax's first question after the press conference was, and they got him on the side there. They got Massey on the side by themselves. They didn't ask him more about the USS Liberty survivors. They didn't ask about the day. They didn't ask anything about that. Didn't ask about the veterans. Now, I will say they did ask some good questions during the press conference, but as soon as they got him to the side, they said, hey, you said you're going to release the Epstein files. Where's those at?
We're right back to Epstein.
And so that was just telling to me where their head was really at.
But think about it. You have a free press, right? We supposedly have a free press in this country, First Amendment rights. You have a story where the United States government has been pumping through the soft brains of everybody in America that Israel is our greatest ally. Now you have a story where 80-year-old men who say they want no compensation, They don't want any money. They just want the story to be recognized because they are, they're patriots, that our greatest ally not only bombed them, but napalmed them and shot their life rafts. They claim that they shot up their life rafts and took one as a souvenir.
And we met the guy who put the American flags up on the ship. We met him personally.
Yeah, the argument is they didn't know it was an American ship. So the guy that actually had the American flag raised on the USS Liberty was in the meeting. The guy that raised the flag.
Word.
Yes. He said they could see the flag. They could see the American writing on the boat. He goes, there is zero chance that somebody got this wrong and made a mistake. It's just impossible to believe. And yet that is the story that our government has told America since June 7th or June 8th, 1967. So our greatest ally that there's bills in Congress right now to share intelligence, to share our technology, to pay for their soldiers. That country bombed an American ship in 1967, and our country and their country has been saying for 59 years that was an accident, when everybody that actually experienced the event says that is absolutely not true.
And Israel has a life raft in a museum. Israel has one of the life rafts from the USS Liberty in a museum in Haifa right now. And that's one of the things that the US Liberty survivors, they want two things. They want a congressional investigation that's never been done, and they just want the life raft back because that's property of the United States that's being put on display in Israel right now. And I think those are two simple things to ask for, in my opinion.
That's how that's how we treat our soldiers, I guess.
Wow. Well, what an amazing opportunity for you guys. I'm really glad that you were able to do that. And I hope that it really was meaningful and special to those survivors and their families. And I, even honestly to Matthew, I'm sure that was really meaningful to him. And I'll tell you, when I found out that he had lost his race, I kind of felt like a piece of my heart had broken off. I was like, what are we going to do?
I know, $30 million
so they spent
to take him out. $30 million to take out and it's a small congressional area. It's just not, this is not a massive area. They spent $30 million to take him out.
And I don't know if you know, Nadine, we actually interviewed Marcus Carey, who's the guy that did the interview with Cynthia West that went viral. That kind of, was one of the reasons that Massey had lost. And we were pressing him for questions, and I just, I'm a millennial, and his answers weren't good enough for me. And I came out in the interview and I just interrupted Rob and I said, "Hey, Marcus, I just unfortunately don't feel like you're answering this question at all." And I said, what is Ed Gallrein going to do that Thomas Massey is not already doing? Or what do you expect that Ed Gallrein will do better than Thomas Massey when he is elected? And his answer was, he's going to vote with Trump. That was the answer.
That was it. He'll support Trump.
Yeah.
So you're just going to get a rubber stamp. And it's funny that you would have that would be a talking point in a positive manner, that you're going to be a rubber stamp for somebody else's wishes. And it works.
That was for last night. That's what all of the congressional candidates at the forum last night said too, Rob, if you caught that.
Yeah. They tie themselves to Donald Trump, which is fine. I mean, you can be supportive of Donald Trump, but I hire my elected representatives to be a check on power. They're supposed to be watching power. They're supposed to be disagreeing when there's things they don't agree with. They're supposed to be representing their constituents, not the president of the United States, regardless of whether you think Donald Trump is the best president in the history of our life. It doesn't really matter. What matters is that when you are represent a district, you're supposed to represent the wishes of that district, not be a rubber stamp for somebody who sits above you on the political chain, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Still free to have one, Isaiah?
100% agree.
So far, so good.
So far, so good. Okay.
Well, I think this has been a productive meeting this morning. I think that we're going to have some wheels moving with this debate on Amendment 3. And I think that we solved a lot of other world problems this morning. What do you think, Rob?
I think we did good. I love your show. I hear so many good things about you. It's funny because I get caught up in my own little world when I was doing radio. You kind of get very self-involved because you're preparing every day. But a lot of people that follow what I say brought up your name to me many, many times. So I'm finally glad we got to have a conversation. I wish you all the best. If you want to have Phil Turney on, let me know. If you want to have a conversation with him, I like him to spread his word. He's spread out because I think he was just on Alex Jones recently. He's doing the podcast circuit. But if you want to have one of those guys from the USS Liberty on your show to talk about what they experienced, just let me know and I'll get you in touch with his team.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. I would love to do that. I really appreciate that very much.
No problem.
I mean, really, the whole reason why I had you on was because I know that you have a lot of connections, and I just want to make more connections. But
well, it's fair enough. You got to do that in the media world, don't you? You have no choice. You have to do that.
Yeah, I just, I before I come on my show every morning, I am always really nervous because I was like, I honestly don't really know what's going to come out of my mouth because I just pray that it's God that is speaking through me, and sometimes I think that I probably come through, but hopefully I most of the time it's God. And so whoever comes on the show, I just pray is doing that as well as furthering the kingdom. So
It's so funny you say that. I tell Isaiah on my notepad, I just do a note. I'm old school, so I just have a notepad of topics that I want to talk about, and every day on the notepad I write Jesus please, for that exact same reason. I want to make sure that I honor the Lord and that I don't get stuck on my own, ego and so forth and so on, and get off onto things that don't make any sense. So I always say, Jesus, please guide me every day before I start the show.
Yep, 100%. I completely agree because I had mentioned to you, I'm honestly not too much of a talker. I talk, like I can talk if I have something to talk about, but I don't really just like to fill space, which is why I always have a guest on from basically the time that I start the show, because otherwise I'm just like, I don't know what to say. It's like I get stage fright or something. But there's been times that there's just random moments, and I'm hopeful that it's God because I just blubber through it most of the time.
Amen.
I don't really know what I'm saying.
Amen.
That's the Holy Spirit fog is what I call it.
Your hard work.
Thank you, Nadine.
Oh, sorry, what's that?
I said I call that the Holy Spirit fog, when you don't know what you said, and then you get out and you say, "What did I just say?"
Yeah, exactly. You just pray that it was the right thing.
Exactly.
Thanks, guys, so much. I think that we should do this again. It was fun.
We'll do it again, Nadine. I wish you all the best. Stay in contact with me. If you want to do it again, we'll do it again.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Have a great weekend, Rob. See you, Isaiah.
Have a great weekend.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Nice lady.
That was so fun.
Wasn't that fun?
Oh, yeah.
Different.
Yeah. That's a nice thing that we have that ability. You have the freedom to do that, right?
Yeah. And, she is in my circles, people like her a lot. Yeah. And I thought, when she reached out, I said, I don't know if I can do it because my show's on at the same time as yours. We do the same time slots.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what? If you can just dial in and we can do it together, we'll just do it that way.
You know what we should do is, because an excuse that Tim Jones made to not come on our show is that News Talk won't let him because he can't go on anyone else's shows. They don't let people go on other people's shows, is what his excuse is. It's
on our show. You asked Tim Jones?
Someone did. I was just going through a thread and someone said, you need to go on Rob Carter. And he's like, oh, well, News Talk has a policy that they don't let us go on other people's shows, blah, 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 blah. So I reach millions of people on my show. Why do I need to? Like, he's basically just.
No, he did not.
Oh, yeah. I'll find it. I'll send it to you. Yeah. It was hilarious. But
well, that doesn't really make a lot of sense because I got in trouble when I was at Real Talk Radio because two of their weekend personalities wanted to come on my show. I'm friendly with them. And I said, well, you can come on and talk. And the station got upset with me because I had News Talk people on my show.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. So, but you know what, how we can get around that and tell them, well, guess what? We can just call into your show. Just like we just did with Nadine, right?
It's funny because I like these people. You know what I mean? I disagree with Tim and I disagree with him on a lot of different topics, but I liked him. I worked with Tim.
I don't think he's a terrible person. I'm not saying that.
But I get a lot of people who say I'm crazy, that they're just politicians and they're snakes and they are bad people. One of my friends, Lisa, she goes, Rob, quit saying they're good people. They're not good people.
Yeah.
They've always been nice to
me.
I can only go by the way people treat me, Isaiah.
This is my guiding light right here.
Yes, sir.
And this says,
tell me to do.
Yeah. And this tells me that I don't know the intentions of the heart, so I cannot judge the intentions of the heart.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where I'm gonna go. Do you know the next line?
I don't know that song.
You don't know that song? I don't know. Somebody in the audience will know. I don't know. I don't know where I'm gonna go.
I don't know that song.
See if anybody knows it. All right, we're gonna do Rack Custom Coatings. We're gonna get a few in, and then we're gonna bring in
Do it.
Marissa Jones. We're gonna move in. I wanna do every now and again meet our advertisers. And it may not be the most entertaining when you're switching from news, but I think if you understand the premise of what we're doing, first of all, Everett is very entertaining, and his daughter Marissa. But the reason we do it is I think if we build a community, so if you're a daily listener, now if you're listening from somewhere out in the country and you're like, okay, that's where that ends for me, I get it. But if you're somebody who understands that we're going to build an infrastructure here, and this may take a while, we're in what, 40, what are we, 43?
45.
45 episodes? Imagine what it's going to look when it's 4,500 episodes, with the kind of groundswell that we will have when we're able to market our show, when we're building a business community where we're all doing business together, where it's a family. You know, when people could come in the morning, I see people saying, hi, fam, hi, fam, hi, family, this and the other. Yeah, you don't know how much that warms my heart, because that's what we want to do. We want to build free thinkers. We want people that don't go, you know what? If my favorite Republican says this, then that's what I agree with. We don't want that. You can disagree with me all day long. I mean, I'm sure that people that listen to the show disagree with me all the time, right? Has to be. But I think if we build a community together around business, around faith, around communication, that I just think we're going to be in a much better spot. I think people will like it. I think when they see it all come to fruition, especially when we start meeting in person.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to have a meeting for People's Lobby Missouri, probably mid to late July, right? So when we have that meeting, show up.
Yeah.
You know, we're not charging you anything. We're going to show up. We're going to get together. We're going to get to know each other just a little bit better. So when you listen to me on air, you'll have an understanding of who I am.
We're likable too. That's what we find out as we go and talk to people that hate our guts. They end up liking us. This is great.
I can't say that I'm likable, but you definitely are. Rack, R-A-K, Custom Coatings. I have a friend getting their garage done by Rack Custom Coatings right now. So it's rackcustomcoatings.com. You can see the work on the screen. This is Rich McQuay, family owned, locally owned and operated since 2001. They put in flooring for industrial space, garages, and they do some great work. Very interesting designs, because sometimes, the first time I looked at it, I said, is that tile, Isaiah? Because it kind of looks like tile, but it's epoxy for the most part, I believe. I got to talk to Rich when he comes on the show. But they can make your industrial space look fantastic. That's a hangar that you're looking at there. It looks like some schools. He's done work for schools, put flooring in hangars, industrial spaces. For me, it was the garages. We had our garage done, and boy, did I love it. So I have one of my friends, one of the listeners of the show and a friend, is having their garage done by Rich McQuay. He says, we install industrial strength, long lasting coatings built to handle anything your home or business can throw at it. From garages to commercial spaces, Rack Custom Coatings delivers tough, beautiful finishes that last. He goes on to say, where quality meets craftsmanship. Business number is 636-398-5040, 636-398-5040. Again, and this is just my personal way of seeing this. If you have a home and you've got this beautiful home, and it could be small or it could be big, but you love your home and you're concerned about curb appeal, I just ask you to take a peek at getting your flooring done. Boy, does it change when you open your garage door and your flooring is put together, and it's not crazy expensive. Great work. Been around since 2001. Somebody you can trust. Rack, R-A-K, customcoatings.com. Our friend Rich McQuay. And then I just got a text message this morning. So, from ECS. See, ECS.
Did the rain dance work? I told you to start dancing last night.
Now he put on a roof for one of our listeners. I think it was a friend of my father's who listens to the show. I'm not even sure. Maybe it was just a recommendation. But ECS just finished their roof this morning. He sent me a text that said the job is done, and he is very happy. The roof looks fantastic. So that's ECS Roofing. As I said, we don't put the bad guys in front of you. ECS Roofing and Exteriors. Roofing, siding, decks, gutters, garage doors, custom exterior metal, residential or commercial, doesn't matter. New construction, storm damage. The key to him, as always, you have to remember this. So when you're talking about roofs to your friends and family, and they go, I need a roofer. And you say ECS Roofing and Exteriors, that's the one. ECS, baby. Why? Why is ECS so good? Because he is a licensed independent insurance adjuster. So when he comes to your home and you said, I've had some damage to my roof, and somebody knocked on my door and they said they're going to fix my roof, they have no idea whether the insurance companies are going to work with you. They just want to get you into their system so they can communicate with you. He knows whether the insurance companies are going to work with you. He understands what they're looking for. So if he tells you that insurance is going to help replace your roof, he knows what he's talking about. He sent me a little message. He said, Rob, just a thought. One other area in my business other than storms is retail and new construction. I love the retail and new construction side of the business, so we run on low overhead so we can pass the savings to our clients. Our prices can't, this is when somebody says this, you got to listen, right? Our prices cannot be beat. Even with that, we offer a class 3 shingle, ridge vent, and a complete installation guarantee, 5-year workmanship guarantee, or warranty, I'm sorry, on top of a manufacturer's warranty. ECS Roofing and Exteriors, when it's time for a new roof or repair, ECS Roofing. Check them out on Facebook at ECS Roofing and Exterior. And we have our website guy building a website for him as well. ECS Roofing and Exteriors. And the
Looks
number,
like Debbie's going to have them build one too, which is great.
right on. We got to get Debbie in here. 314-486-3567. ECS Roofing. Call them at 314-486-3567. How about Carrington Financial? He comes on Tuesdays now, so you can make your own judgment on Rick Babbitts. But Carrington Financial, yourcaringadvisor.com. You can reach him at 314-671-0525. He is the financial advisor to the Rob Carter Show. Biblical principles with your money. If you have money to protect, if you're nearing retirement, especially if you're nearing retirement, don't use your buddy around the corner. Use somebody who knows everything about the financial markets. He knows the currencies. He knows the politics. He knows the markets. He knows it all. Brilliant guy, Rick Babbitts. 314-671-0525. 314-671-0525. Or you can check him out at yourcaringadvisor.com. And now we have EXP Realty. Got to get her in. Debbie, she says, Rob, why are you not advertising that? You didn't read the other day. I think she was upset with you, Isaiah, or me. I'm not sure, because we don't have her listed on the Facebook. When we list it, we got to get Debbie on.
Yes. Well,
She was late ad.
Yeah, the Facebook ones are automatically put in, and so they just auto generate because they've been the same for so long. And so I just need to update the.
She was a little bit. She was one of the last people that we picked up. So Debbie Genius. Debbie's been around the game for a long time. So if you're looking for a new home, especially if you're new to the area, you're coming into Missouri. She's licensed in Missouri and Illinois, right? So it's Missouri and Illinois. Been doing this for 28 years. So you have somebody with experience. And if you've ever been ripped off on a home, I had my first home built for me, Isaiah, and they didn't put soffits in, and no soffits on my home. So the undercarriage of my home was all just look what's every time somebody knocked on my door, they're like, they didn't finish your house. I didn't know what I was doing. I'm like, there's no soffits. What's going on around here? You need somebody to manage you when you're buying a home, especially when you're buying a home for the first time, to protect you. Debbie Genius will take care of you. She's been around for 28 years. She also works in the insurance game. She's been with the same brokerage for 14 years. So she's stable, somebody you can trust, somebody who communicates well, and she listens to the show. She's a fan of what we do. She may not agree with everything we say, but she does believe in free speech. Debbie Genius. You can reach her at 314-482-9205. 314-482-9205. You can always check out all of the information on the robcartershow.com. We're going to put all of our advertisers on here within the next week or so. We'll have everybody listed there, and you can go right onto our website and you can see these people firsthand, make the determinations for yourself. All of their information will be there. We'll probably put a commercial together for them on our website. Deborah, if you want to reach her by email, it's Deborah, Debra, Deborah.Genis, Jeanis at exprealty.com. I think it's easier to call 314-482-9205. Debbie Genius, Jeanis. All right, let's bring in Marissa and Everett. Everett's looking low there. I got to get Everett to pull his camera up just a little bit. I see Everett sitting a little bit low there.
Yeah, just pull your laptop down. Yeah, laptop.
There you go, baby. Let's see that pretty face of yours. There he is, the handsome man. Marissa, what's going on?
Come on.
Everett, what's happening? I haven't talked to you in a little bit, Marissa, and now I'm fat. I got fat.
Marissa's muted.
I was muted. Sorry.
I got fat since we haven't been
busy.
talking.
Life's good.
Did you hear me?
What'd you say?
I said I got fat since we haven't been talking.
Rob, well, that's why I'm here.
Here for an intervention.
I do. I need an intervention. You when you used to come into the show when I was on the radio station, you would come in and you just said, she'd assess me very quickly, and she said, Rob, what you need to do is the best advice I can give you is to stop eating so much. But I'm just you're a pig.
Remember, eating a lot doesn't necessarily
pinch his cheeks, Marissa. Pinch his cheeks.
Marissa, you got to check this out. So Isaiah and I went to DC, I don't know if you've seen it, but I interviewed Thomas Massey and we're walking down the street. So we're kind of walking at an angle. So he's a little bit lower than me. So I'm going to say it's a camera, it's a kind of a mirage type thing.
Right.
And he posts this on, my friends are brutal. So he posts this all over social media. We had probably 100 million views of it. So all my friends are seeing it run through their feed on X and Facebook and everything else. And I must have had half a dozen friends of mine saying, hey, the real hero is that top button on your coat jacket, because I don't know how it stayed in there so long, because I'm getting a little chubby.
It stayed tucked in the whole time, huh?
I thought I was, what's funny about that? You know what's funny? Because I was sucking it in. That's what's even worse. I was sucking it in and the thing was still fighting.
Rob,
Life.
good thing I'm here. You're going to learn something new today.
So Marissa Jones Nutrition. Let's start from the basics, Marissa. If you're getting a little bit older and you're trying to take care of your body, give people some tips just right off the bat. Because one of the things you did for me, and even Isaiah, have we not talked about this off air, about the idea of you getting electrolytes and lemon water early in the morning?
Oh yeah.
Right. I told Isaiah, I said, I would get toward the end of the show. When you're sitting in a chair, you're for 3 hours, we get no breaks. Isaiah jumps up every now and again when I'm on a rant and he goes to the bathroom. I don't even go to the bathroom for 3 hours. Right. So I'm just sitting in a chair, toward the end of it, you start to feel a little stress in your back and so forth. And what I noticed when I went back, because I don't watch my own shows, but for at the beginning of it, I would watch like the first 2 hours just to get, maybe the first week I was watching my shows just to watch the production level and everything. And I noticed that my energy level in the last like 30 to 40 minutes, not every day, but a couple of those days, I noticed my energy level and, just how I communicate started to just soften just a little bit. I could just tell that I was getting tired. I thought I got to listen to her, because my natural inclination is to get up out of bed. I run to the bathroom because I'm 56 and that's just the way we roll, right? I run to the bathroom and then I go up and I get coffee immediately. It's like the first thing that I do. You told me, you said, Rob, you can drink your coffee. Don't worry about that. But what you should do is get yourself some water, electrolytes, and lemon. So I don't go to the grocery store, but because I'm getting tired here, I got to take her advice. I went and I got lemons. I cut them up. I put the electrolytes in the water. I put them in my ECS roofing and exteriors little tumbler here. And I started doing it before every show. I would drink it before I drink my coffee. And I got to give you credit. It worked.
Did you notice a difference? Yeah, I
completely forgot about it. I just noticed that we got done with I'd done it for like 2 or 3 days and I started getting done. And before, when I got done, Marissa, I would just immediately collapse and go take a nap. I would just run out of the studio. I would grab something to eat and I'd fall asleep. Well, after I started doing this, I had energy after I got done with the show. I felt completely different because I was sipping. I did a second run. So I did a run of electrolytes. I drank my coffee, did the show as I was drinking another whole glass of electrolytes, lemon and water. But I got to tell you, it worked.
Yeah. See,
you
just got to make the water work for you. The lemons make it work for you. It's
That's
simple. This is my electrolytes of the day.
What are you drinking?
It is an instant hydration packet. So it's a company called Instant Hydration. I'm working on getting a code, so I'll send it to you. But it puts all of the electrolytes. So lemons have XYZ electrolytes. Limes have very similar profile, but every fruit's different, obviously. Every vegetable's different. Coconut water has more magnesium compared to a banana has more potassium. Those are all electrolytes, though. So your body needs a specific combination of all of them for that ideal electrolyte balance.
Gotcha.
The company basically just took all of the electrolytes in the right combination and put them in a cup or in a packet, needless to say.
You got to send it to me because I don't know.
I will.
Well, because Everett got skinnier. He went out to.
I'll write it down right now.
Yeah, you got skinnier, Everett. You went out to California and came back about 25 pounds lighter, and you must have given it to me because I'm bumming out because my wife she's not looking at me the way she used to look at me. I used to feel like Elvis when I walked around the house, and now she's like, yeah, what's going on around here? So I've got to get my butt
too
back.
many peanut butter and banana sandwiches.
I do. I like to eat. The older I think it's stress, right? When you get stressful, you want to eat all the time. I got to think that's what's going on. Right?
Some people, if they're stressed, they'll eat more. Some people, if they're stressed, they stop eating.
No, I eat more. I stress eat. There's no doubt about it. So tell people about what
those
you
double cheeseburgers, Rob. You got to quit eating those double cheeseburgers.
You know what I did last night? I just got to tell you guys a quick story. So I'm driving home. I went up to Osage. I was emceeing an event for the Republican Party out there, and I'm driving home and I'm hungry. I didn't eat when I ate on the way there, and then I was there for 6 hours. And by the time I was driving home, it was about 10 o'clock at night. I was starving. So I pull off, and I like to eat healthy when I'm on the road. So I pulled off to a Taco Bell, right? And I ate some Taco Bell.
Or Lion's Choice. That's pretty typical for you too.
I like Lion's Choice as well. So I get Taco Bell, and because I have to put the hot sauce on the Taco Bell, I decided just to eat in the parking lot. So I get into the parking lot, and the Cardinals were playing. So I turn on my phone, and I put the phone on my dash, and I'm watching the phone. I'm eating my Taco Bell. I pull out, I get onto the highway, and the sirens start lighting up. So I'm getting pulled over by the cops. He pulls over and he goes, "I'm pulling you over because you didn't use your turn signal when you came on to the highway." And I'm like, "Come on, give me a break." And he looks down, and I've got the camera playing in the dashboard. And he goes, "And you can't watch the Cardinal game on your phone while you're driving." And I wasn't. I was watching it when I was sitting there eating the Taco Bell. And anyway, the guy put me out of the ticket, and I got away with it last night. But the reason I brought it all up is, why am I eating 2 tacos, 2 cheese roll-ups, and a burrito at Taco Bell at 10 o'clock at night? Well, how do I get out of these bad habits, and how do I get myself back in shape? And what services do you offer people? Honey, I hope you're not listening to this, because you'll be very upset with me.
So Rob, what I would tell you to do, just like everybody else, I tell everyone, if you do not get 30 minutes of movement a day, start there. I don't care if it's a walk. I don't care if it's laps around your living room table. It could be anything. 30 minutes of movement. I incorporate it into my laundry. While I'm doing laundry, I have to go up and down stairs. I have to bend down to get stuff out of the dryer, put stuff in the dryer. While I'm folding, I'm walking around folding the towels. 30 minutes of movement. If you don't get 30 minutes of consistent movement a day, start today. The other simple thing is the hydration. Electrolytes first thing in the morning. If you're a coffee person, especially if you are a coffee person that drinks a lot of coffee, I'm talking like a half a pot to a pot, because I know all of you are out there. Start with lemon water. Start with a hydration packet. One thing I'm going to teach you is looking at the ingredients to know what hydration packets are worth buying. Liquid IV is not one of them. Neither is LMNT. Those are the 2 huge products for electrolytes, and they do not have natural forms of electrolytes. So you're better off with your lemon and your water than buying those. Another thing is going to be protein. Rob, you keep saying you eat too much. It's not that you eat too much, it's that you're picking the wrong food. Okay, a double cheeseburger at my house, totally clean. Good buns, 100% grass-fed beef, natural cheese, organic veggies on the top, lettuce, tomato, whatever. Whether it came from a local neighbor in their garden or from the store. At the store, I like to clean all my stuff. So I'm getting a lot more protein. So if you say 1 beef patty, quarter pound, typically has, without doing math on top of my head, somewhere between like 10 and 12 grams of protein. Okay, so double that for your double cheeseburger. The only kicker is that bun that you're eating when you're out somewhere is loaded with junk. It's bleached flour. They've put fake vitamins into it. There's no nutritional value. It's empty carbs. It's no different than eating a donut. If you go to the store, buy yourself a good bun, most likely it's going to have 5 to 10 grams of protein in it.
Isn't that what you do?
No fake vitamins.
Marissa, isn't that what you do for your customers? Because first of all, the reason I love you, it's the reason I love your father as well, is because you guys do business, but you do business the right way. You told me, you're not trying to gouge people. I've had people that say they want to do this, and it costs them, you almost have to be rich to do it. Right? Yeah. And you said to me, one of the things that you do for your customers, and I probably just need to hire you at some point, is you tell people what to buy, and depending on where you shop. So you came into me, we sat down one day, and you said, "Rob, what do you like to eat?" And I said, "Well, I like ice cream. I eat spaghetti every chance that I get. I like stew. There's a few things you like." And you said, "Okay." So you put a little profile together for me, and you said, if you're shopping at Target, here's the stuff you should buy from Target. So if you're buying spaghetti, here's the way you should eat it. Here's the ingredients you should use, and here's what you would buy at Target. If you shop at Earbergs, here's what you should buy. If you shop at Schnucks, here's what you should buy. Wherever you shop, they have good food for you. It's just you're picking probably the cheapest and the most right. This is how you shop. You said, but I can tell you what to buy that fits your taste bud at the stores. And that to me was like, I'd never heard anybody say that to me before. And I've seen you before. You used to go do videos, and you'd be walking through the aisles. Yeah. Garbage. This is the one you want right here. Right?
So ironically, you say that. Here's a perfect example, Rob. Okay, granola bars. None of these options are technically perfect. Okay, but you look at all of them. This looks like a clean granola bar, right?
We have Toasty in our house.
All these fancy labels on there. Okay, this one is actually clean though. These are good. All the ingredients are Marissa approved. There's no hidden junk in them. Now there's a brand called Junkless that's full of junk, so that's ironic. Don't buy those granola bars. These ones, another little hint is kid food normally has cleaner ingredients. So these are little kid chocolate chip granola bars, but they're way better than Quakers or really any other chocolate ones, and they taste good. I cannot keep these in stock in my pantry. I bought them 2 days ago, and the kids have eaten them all.
What's it called?
They are called Little Spoon.
Little Spoon. And where's that at? Where do you get them at?
I get these at Target. I've seen them at Costco before. These also Target, Schnucks, Deerbergs, Costco. But so like on here, when the main point, I guess, of this is it doesn't matter what the front of the box says. Okay. It could conveniently actually be clean and work out in your favor, which is great. Such as these. These guys aren't perfect, but they're so much better than a lot of the other options out there. The only thing that I would be concerned about is it has soy lectin, which is a little bit inflammatory. So we want to avoid soy and sunflower anything. Our body doesn't really like that. So these are all things that you would learn if you were to say go on a grocery store date with me. It's probably my favorite part of my job is taking clients to the grocery store, whatever one they go to, in order for them to be in their comfort zone, know where all their stuff is. And I essentially just sit there and say, if you're going to buy this box of crackers, this isn't a good option. Let's switch to this one. It's much better.
Simple
Same
milk.
thing with the granola bars. And we go through the entire store and I show that, and price included. If you have a certain budget, I'll keep you in that budget. People a lot of times think that when you buy healthier food, it's so much more money. It really isn't. I was just doing a price comparison for like normal people foods of what I consider normal people foods. I was looking at Philadelphia cream cheese. And between two different grocery stores, the price difference for the same exact 8-ounce Philadelphia cream cheese container that's spreadable was $1.48 difference just between the two stores. So if you're shopping at a store that typically has higher cost for their products for the same exact thing, just switch stores. And then you have the opportunity to use that extra $10, $15 on the extra 50 cents you're spending on each of your better items.
Is that
so it's all about what your budget is, what you're looking for. All of it can be done virtually. I have clients all over the US, so everything's catered. That's, I think, one of the things that you like to point out is I work with each individual. I coach individuals and I coach families, typically families with little kids, and their parents just aren't sure how to get them started on the right foot. Because anything in a box, anything in a bag, none of it's perfect.
And
none of it's perfect, but you have a lot better options.
Yeah, I have a buddy of mine, and he's on the same thing as you, and he's 60 or 61 years old. I have two friends of mine. One is 58, the other one is 61. They have body like 19-year-olds. And I'm like, I got to look like that. Are you taking steroids? What are you guys doing? They're muscular. They're fit. They got flat stomachs, and they're almost 60 years old. One's over 60 years old. And I said, how do you do that? And he said, it's diet. And I said, diet. He goes, we work out, but we wouldn't have the energy to work out like we do if we didn't eat right.
Yes.
And it was funny because he told me, you said it. And then I was talking to him and he said the same thing. You said you should eat protein with every meal. You should never sit down and eat a meal unless there's protein involved in it. And he said the same thing. He goes, you need to get to where protein is the driver of your diet, because he said, Rob, you like cookie. He knows me. He goes, a friend of mine since I was a kid. He goes, you like cookies and ice cream. He goes, you're eating too much cookies and ice cream. And he goes, you just got to cut it out of your diet as best you can. He goes, eat clean foods. He goes, but always eat protein. I said, that's what Marissa eats. He was right after you conversation with me. I said, Marissa said, she said, you got to eat protein in your diet. Why is that so effective? What is the deal? First of all, I guess you could you can get your stomach filled so you feel like you've eaten and you're not digesting a lot of calories. But what is the benefit of eating protein with every meal? Explain that to me.
So there's a handful of reasons, but to keep it simple, protein takes a lot longer for your body to break down to utilize as energy than something like full of nothing crackers. Okay, so when you eat foods that aren't providing you with long-term energy, your body just breaks it down super fast and then it's done. So aka that sugar crash. You have all this energy, then you have no energy. Protein helps you regulate a better standard of your energy level. So, and protein is also made up of amino acids, and you need amino acids to do everything. So people who work out, even people who don't work out, people who are super into supplements and all of that will take not protein, but amino acids. Because when you consume protein, your body breaks it down into the amino acids, and then each one goes and does its designated duty. But when it comes to the diet and the digestion aspect and why it works for everyone, it's simply because if you eat carbs alone, your energy goes up and then it dies. That's that sugar crash everybody talks about. When you eat carbs with protein and fat, you have a normal increase of energy. And then guys, guess what? It steadily goes back down. So you don't have a rush of energy and then die. It's that steady, prolonged energy. And if you consume food every 2 to 4 hours, like your body is designed to, by the time you slow that energy down, you should be eating another snack or a meal in order to slightly bring it back up. That's what gives you that consistent energy through the day. You avoid that afternoon crash. You avoid the post-lunch slump. If you're eating food and then feeling like you need to take a nap afterwards, increase your protein. Low down on the carbs, or just change the type of carbs you're eating, because carbs are not bad. And I guess one perfect little example that I can give you is when I was doing some clinicals back when I was getting my master's. I was in a facility in Florida, and the demographic of the facility was a lower income facility who the majority of the people who went there were eating tortillas, rice, beans. It was a very Mexican style consumption of food on a regular basis. Breakfast, lunch, dinner was tortillas, beans, rice, and some sort of protein, typically 3 times a day. Okay, so the simplest way that I had to break that down to people was your carb to protein ratio is not accurate. So people with diabetes, if you want to regulate your blood sugar naturally, you have to consume the right portion of carbs, protein, and fats together in order to make that energy in that long-term breakdown work.
So meal prep, I guess, is a big deal for you. You like to meal prep?
I'm weird about my meal prep. I am not the Instagram perfect, cute little containers, portioned out meal prep. Right. It takes too much time. And most of the time when people do that, they get burnt out by the end of the week. Or you're cooking
my buddy eats the same thing every day. I have the 2 guys that I'm talking about, they eat the same meal every day. Now they change it up on the weekends, but they eat the same breakfast and lunch every day, the same thing. I'm like, my wife and I tried it, and she said, "Honey, I can't do it." I said, "Yeah, I can't eat the same thing every day either. I don't even want to eat it now."
Right. Yeah. See, it's
when you're hungry, you don't want to eat it. Maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it'll keep me from eating because once you eat the same thing over and over, but then you go scarf something that because you're kind of craving something different.
But here's the downfall of that, Rob. Think about this. It might fit their protein, carbs, and fat proportions, but now you're not getting the diversity of foods. Your body needs you to not eat the same thing every day. Your body likes a variety of things. Each different food has a different nutrient profile. Your body likes all those profiles, not just one.
Rena asks, is protein from animal or plants better for you?
If you can tolerate animal protein, it is better. And here, let me explain a little bit why. Animal protein is a lot easier to digest. So if you can digest animal protein, it is a lot easier for your body to break that protein down into the amino acids I was talking about in order to utilize the protein. When you have plant-based protein, there's a lot more fiber It typically is full of a lot more fillers, such as gums. That's harder on your digestive system. So unless you need to be plant-based, I always suggest grass-fed whey protein. That's going to be the best that you can get.
What is what's the story when I was so I had a baseball organization. I was on the board of it, and we had two former major league ball players, and they were teaching these high school age kids how to eat. And they said that as soon as you get up in the morning, you should eat protein. You know, they were talking about eggs and this, and they said you got to eat it right as soon as you get up in the morning. And I never do that because I don't want to have to go to the restroom when I'm on the air. I don't want to have any kind of stomach issues when I'm on the air. So I wait until after the show to eat. So when I'm in Florida, I'm not eating until about 1:30 in the afternoon. When I'm in St. Louis, I don't eat till around 12:30. But I remember when they went through the nutrition classes, and these were people that were teaching Major League Baseball players how to take care of their body. They said you should eat protein as soon as you wake up. Is that something I see you shaking your head? So that's something you agree with?
Yes.
So
you want to know why?
The show's messing up my diet.
So
take a break, Rob.
They told them this. They told them to eat protein first thing in the morning, because when you first wake up, that energy that gets you out of bed, that energy that lets you walk yourself to the bathroom and brush your teeth and make your coffee, that is energy from carbs. It is sugar energy that your body is saying, hey, wake up, it's time to go. So you're utilizing carbohydrate, sugar, energy. Okay. Now, if you go on top of that and start your day with donut or a piece of toast, you're adding to the carbs without providing your body any protein, the sustainable energy. So when you start your day with a high protein breakfast, you don't need to worry about the carbs because you got about 2-3 hours of energy before you burn those off, typically.
Gotcha.
So within that first 2 hours of waking up, you need to add the protein to the carbs you're already provided.
I know you have a customer that you're going to see here in just a couple minutes. So tell people about your service. Tell people what you do. Give people a sense of how you work and how to get a hold of you so that people know about Marissa Jones. And I will just say this. I've gotten to know your family quite well. I would say that you're probably the least expensive person that does this that I know, and you're probably the most skilled at it, which is, your family's very an interesting way of looking at life, and I absolutely love it. But explain to people what you can do for their lives and how important it is just to take care of yourself, because I know right now I'm a little more sluggish than I normally am, and it's because I really think that I've been anxious lately. We're changed over from the radio to the podcast. Now, I think Isaiah and I have 13 advertisers. We want people to be successful, so we're trying to figure out how to do commercials, how to organize social media, and when you're trying to facilitate a lot of different things, you get overwhelmed a little bit, right? And I'm feeling that little bit of anxiousness and a little bit of that, and I'm trying. And I think when I feel that way, I want to eat. I just start munching. I don't know what it is, but definitely something within me, and I don't want it to be that way. I know that when I'm in Florida, and I haven't been doing it here because I'm just not in my normal routine, but I'm in Florida, I do walk about 3-4 miles every day. So I've been in St. Louis for 5 days. I guarantee you I put on 5 pounds since I've been here.
Yeah,
right?
Really?
I'm walking.
Stress weight. It's a thing.
And I'm not doing the exercises. So give people a sense of what you do and how you benefit consumers and customers.
I help people be realistic with their health, realistic with their nutrition, and allow them to live the lifestyle of their goals, the lifestyle that they want to live, and still be healthy. So, you guys, I eat French fries. I'll eat Taco Bell. I only eat Taco Bell every 3 months. You want to be able to be in a happy position where you feel good, you feel healthy, but you're just not sure where to start? Call me. All about lifestyle. I don't do diets. I don't do meal plans because they're not realistic. We are very, very realistic over here. I meet you where you are at, and we take each of those tiny steps together until you get where you want to be. You can contact me at 314-934-6906.
Say it one more time, because I think Isaiah might be able to put it on the screen. Say it one more time.
Okay. 314-934-6906.
6906. Do you have a website? It's still joneswater.com. Go to the
I have a link on joneswater.com.
Okay, so if you want to go through joneswater.com, just go to joneswater.com, go to the menu, go to the nutrition, and you'll see Marissa Jones. Reach out to her there. The people that I know that have worked with you in the past say that you're inexpensive. And I think the one benefit that you are so much different than everybody else, at least that I'm aware of, is that you personalize the shopping experience and the ingredients, what people like to eat. Nobody's ever even because I've looked at these things primarily for advertisers, right? I talk for advertisers. I'm saying, okay, what do you guys do? I've never heard anybody say, tell me where you shop and I'll tell you what foods to buy for your taste buds. You're the first person who's ever done that.
Yeah,
right?
And it should be like, because a lot of times it's expensive because a lot of people are going to tell you, you need to go buy XYZ, these specific things in order to reach your goal. Well, that's not a realistic way to get there if you have to change your entire lifestyle in order to reach that goal. The only realistic, and that's why I don't do diets. Diets work until you stop doing them. Mm-hmm. Do you want to do a diet for the rest of your life? Because I don't.
You've never heard anybody say they've been on a diet.
I want my diet to just be a good.
Nobody's been on a diet for 10 years.
It's called a lifestyle change.
I know.
It's called a lifestyle change. That's what you got to do. Everybody has to do it. There's no shortcuts over here and shortcuts over there. If you don't do a lifestyle change, it's got to come from within.
My buddy says that. The guy. So Isaiah met him. So Scott Cooper is a former Major League Baseball player, and we grew up and we're friends. So the last time I was doing my show was at his home. So I stayed at his home and I did the show there for a week. And he gets up in the morning and he eats eggs and sausage every morning. And then he rides his bike for 20 miles and he works out with weights for an hour. And then he goes to every day, 6 hours of working out.
That's awesome.
Day. He's 58 years old. And I said, what do you eat every day? And he goes, he brings out of the thing, goes, it's turkey sausage and scrambled eggs. And then he brings out of his, he likes First Form. So he brings out all this stuff from First Form, from collagen to creatine to everything else. And he's in that routine. I said, you eat this every day? He goes, Monday through Friday. And I said, you'll eat. He goes, yeah, on the weekends I'll eat whatever. He goes, but Monday through Friday I eat this every morning. And I said, and in the daytime, he had a big tub. I was like, what is that in your fridge? It was like this big tub, and he kept pulling it out. I could see him, eating it as I was finishing my show. And it was chicken breast, jasmine rice, and vegetables. And I said, I like that. I said, I would like to eat that. I said, can I put hot sauce on it? He goes, yeah, you can put hot sauce. It's not going to hurt you if you put hot sauce on it. He goes, this is what gives me the energy. Then this is a guy, just to give people an example of what happens when you work out. This is a guy that is 58 years old. He gets up at 7 o'clock in the morning, like the world's on fire, every morning at 7, makes the scrambled eggs with the turkey sausage, right? Rides a bike for 20 miles plus, comes home, goes right down. You hear the weight, ting, ting, ting. He's working out the weights. He works out with weights for an hour. And then he goes to yoga. And then he goes at 58 years old and throws maybe 300 or 400 pitches because he coaches baseball. 300 or 400 pitches every single day to these kids, comes home, goes to bed and does it. I think he does that 4 days a week. You imagine 58 years. I get tired watching him just in the morning, and yet he is fresh as a daisy every day because he eats right and exercises.
The goal is to feel like him because he probably feels amazing.
He feels amazing, looks amazing. I hate him for it.
I'm a very not routine person. I have my things that I do every day. Don't get me wrong, but my every day is a new adventure for me. I don't have the ability to.
That's my girl.
Routine everything like that. So there's people. If you're out there thinking there is no way I could do the same thing every day, you don't have to. I promise.
Did you help?
That's a great retired life.
Did you help Everett lose the weight, or did he do that on his own?
That's like a combination of a handful of people.
Gotcha. Because you did lose some weight there.
He had some California help with that one. But he, I try to tell him what to do sometimes.
He don't listen, does he?
Sometimes. I gotta let him think it was his idea.
He's very stubborn.
I told her when she got out of school that I'd probably be the worst customer she ever had.
He said it, not me. He's still here. He still asks me questions. He still does things.
I ask her all the time what's good, what's bad, how to do this and how to do that. I listen to her. She doesn't think so, but I do.
And you send me pictures of what you're eating. He sends me pictures of the shakes that he makes in the morning, those shakes that he makes. I said, that's got to be $100 shake that you got going on there because it had like 75 different ingredients in it. Right?
So scroll through his Facebook to about 10 years ago and check out his meals from then.
Yeah.
Because the dude he could eat and he'd post all about his food.
Well,
that's because I'm
a traveling man. I had to eat
where I was at.
And some
exactly.
soup.
I was going to say, Marissa, your brother, Austin. I don't know if I told you this story when we went out to dinner and he was eating that we had all the meat you could eat.
Yeah.
I tell you that story? Well, I mean,
probably not, but I can see where this is going.
Austin is skinny as a pencil. He's a very, what's he, 6'3", 170 pounds, maybe?
Probably.
Yes. And he ate, the amount of meat that he ate that night blew me away because I'm a big eater, right? And I'm mowing it down to where if I ate another bite, I was going to explode, right? And he went on for another 45 minutes. They just keep bringing meat around. I'm serious. They kept bringing meat around. I said, he's the most prolific meat eater I've ever seen in my life. I mean, he could eat more than an elephant. And he's skinny as a pencil, but it was all, like you said, it's all protein. It's all meat. He wasn't eating anything else.
Do you know why he's capable of eating that much? Because that kid could eat an entire box of rice if you let him. His metabolism works.
Yeah.
But if you diet or you calorie restrict yourself, it kills your metabolism. So you have to fuel yourself with the proper foods in order to have a metabolism that works. I eat at least 2,000 calories a day. And I'm 120 pounds and I'm like 5'7". At least 2,000 calories a day. And that's in order to maintain. I got to eat more than that if I want to start gaining muscle. Like it's hard for me to put weight on because my metabolism is so well fed.
I'm 6'1", about 195 to 200 pounds. How much calories should I normally take? I want to get back to about one.
Probably at least, off the top of my head, probably at least 2,000.
Yeah, I want to get back
taking a walk every day. Yeah, at least 2,000. You probably do that if you go out to fast food because it's very caloric dense.
I don't usually
But it's
eat
the wrong
fast
kind of
food.
calories.
I only eat fast food when I come in when I'm on a long drive and there's just nothing else to eat. So I'm like,
Right.
I don't want to rest. You know, like I had to drive out to Osage. It was 2 hours. So I ate.
Yeah.
I don't want to tell you what I ate because it's even more embarrassing because I ate their fast food and ate fast food going back. And, you know, I woke up this morning and I just felt I had the blahs going on first thing this morning. I had to, I do what you said. I had to do a little exercise to get the blood flowing so I could do the show. Right. All right, Marissa. We'll promote you, and I'm probably going to get in touch with you because I really do. My wife she's
here.
Very disappointed in me, so I got to get my act together.
You tell her I'm ready whenever you are.
You're on. Great to see you.
You too. Bye, guys.
You got to be good.
Have fun this weekend.
I will.
And congratulations on your engagement.
Thank you.
All right, Everett. Now let's talk water. Come on up here where I can see you.
Well, hey, I've been waiting.
I said,
I'm in the background.
Are you at home?
I am.
All right. Let's talk about water and air. What do you want to cover for people? Because this is you're kind of fascinating to me because you've been at this, since 1995?
Since 1985, actually, but 95 for myself. Yeah.
95 in your business. You know more about water. And I was telling people, I bust you up a little bit because we're friends. And I said, I'm driving with the day that I went working with you that day. And I said, I'm in the car, and I asked him what's in the water. And he goes, well, it depends on where the water is. If you got the water in this town, it's got, you go boom, 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 boom. And you go over there, you go, they got fairly decent water. And you named everything that was in the water as we're driving by the towns. I thought this guy's the best. He knows what's going on with the water. And I don't really know anybody anymore that doesn't have water filtration systems. Almost everybody in my life now understands that they shouldn't be drinking tap water. But do you want to explain it very quickly? Just kind of the ailments that you can get when you start drinking tap water and you're cooking with tap water and you're cleaning with tap water and you're washing your clothes. Because I don't think people recognize it. You know, my age, I'm 56, like I said, but most people don't recognize how these little ailments are often caused just by the water and the air in their own home.
Yeah, I'll give an example. Yesterday, I was working on a job in Town and Country. Now, everybody in St. Louis County thinks they got the greatest water there is, and in comparison to much of the United States, St. Louis County water, city water, is tops in the country. However, it comes from the Mississippi, Missouri, or Merrimack River. The Mississippi River runs around 2 or 3 grains of hardness. It's rainwater that's run off of fields and into a gully, and it comes down and goes into the Gulf of Mexico, Gulf of America. And the Missouri River and the Merrimack Rivers are spring-fed water that comes up out of the ground, and that groundwater has a lot of mineral in it. Since we in Missouri are sitting on a big rock, all of that rock dissolves in the water and goes down into the pool under us. And then when it comes up out of the ground, that either by well water being sucked up out of the ground or pushed up out of the ground, or in the case where Marissa's going now down to go floating on the Merrimack River or the current river, that water comes out as mineral laden water. lot of calcium carbonate in it. Now, calcium carbonate is what causes the problems in all appliances, fixtures, ice. If you go to a restaurant, the majority of restaurants you go to have some sort of filtration device on their ice machine so that their ice machine doesn't cake up and they don't have a guy like me in there servicing their ice machine, which I don't do anymore, servicing their ice machine on a monthly basis because the scale plugs up the aerator that feeds the system. So that's what I was doing yesterday.
When I go to homes, is that why their ice always gets clogged up and their ice doesn't work anymore? Is that one of the reasons?
Yeah, because the scale, when it drops down out of the chute, all that scale builds up on the sides of the chute. Then the ice sticks to that spot. When it sticks, it can't get through there. Then it builds up over the backside of the dispenser, and it just gets stuck there. It doesn't go anywhere. So, and the same thing when you see the little drips. The little drips you see on the where you get the water out of the dispenser and the refrigerator, that white stuff on the bottom or on there, that's the calcium carbonate that's in the water, that's in a liquid form that you can't see when you pour it into a glass like this. So see this is clear, crystal clear water. This is my water. There's no mineral in it. There's no dissolved solids in it. There's no chemicals in it. There's no heavy metals in it. There's none of that stuff in it because I run it through a process called reverse osmosis. Now, you got me off track here. I want to get back to the reason why I was in Town and Country yesterday was because this lady's kitchen faucet, relatively new kitchen faucet in a multi-million-dollar home, she couldn't get but a dribble of water out of it, and every other day she had to have a plumber in there to take care of cleaning it out, and so it would run for another couple of days, and then it would happen again. So I knew what the problem was, but they didn't believe me. So I told them, I said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to start with changing the faucet on the sink, the kitchen sink. I don't do faucets, but I was going to do this for these folks just to show them what the problem was.
Prove it.
I had to prove it to them. And I hooked the new faucet up, and boy, they got lots of water. I left the house. Within 2 hours, the lady called me back and said, I don't got no water. I said, okay, the problem isn't your faucet, like I said. Part of their problem was their faucet because it had little bitty spaghetti tubes feeding the water line. The water line going to the faucet was a little bitty spaghetti tube, as opposed to a 3/8-inch full port line feeding enough water that it'd peel your skin if you let it come through straight through. So the problem is in their water heater. When the water heats, that mineral that's in the water it reverts into scale form. And it collects in the water heater. So when you're in the basement and you hear something growling at you, when the water heater's running and snapping and popping, that's all that mineral in the water heater breaking when the flame underneath it heats the water in the tank. That bottom layer is where all the scale collects. And then when that heat hits it, it pops. If you've ever had a torch or anything to that effect and you put it on concrete, when it gets hot, a concrete pad will pop and break, and there'd be a hole there. Well, that's what's happening in the water heaters, and that's what was happening in her case. Her water heater was 10 years old. Had 10 years worth of hard water running through it. All that mineral built up inside there. Now it's breaking loose and coming through the plumbing, and it's plugging up their shower heads. It's plugging up their aerators at their sinks. It's plugging up their washing machine hoses. It's plugging up everything that's in particular hot water, because the hot water precipitates more than the cold water does. So after I got back and I took the faucet apart again and I dumped the aerator out in my hand and I showed her, I said, look, this stuff. And when I put my finger across it, I just ran my finger like this across it and it just dissolved into a dust. I said, that's your problem. It's in your water heater. And the only remedy to that is to change your water heater and put a water softener in. So in St. Louis or St. Charles County or Lincoln County or Warren or Macoupin or I don't care where you're at in the Midwest, you need a water softener filter to take care of the problems here. The softener part takes care of the mineral, the hard water, iron, calcium, and magnesium. The filter next to it is what takes care of what we have in St. Louis that is commonly called chlorine and ammonia mixture combination, which is called chloramines. And chloramines are detrimental to everything it touches, plastic or rubber in your intestines. So when we talk about water treatment for your whole house, this is what we promote, the Hydrotech H2O product. And it is what we're putting in more 50 to 60% of the time all over the St. Louis, St. Charles, I'm just going to call it the metropolitan area within 75 miles of where I'm sitting. Doesn't matter where you're at, you have hard water and you have chlorinated water. The reason there's chlorine and ammonia in St. Louis County, where they put the chlorine and ammonia in the water, they pump all that water from St. Louis city water, which is out off of Hog Hollow, if some of you know where that's at. There's 2 water plants there. There's a city water plant and the county water plant. They're within 2 mile or a mile of each other. One, they both draw the water out of the Missouri River. One sends the water to the city of St. Louis, and one sends the water to the county of St. Louis. And then the city of St. Louis also pumps that water through a 6-foot main water line that goes underneath the Missouri River into St. Charles County and under the Mississippi River that goes into Illinois. So it's Illinois American on one side, it's Missouri American on the other side, and that water is distributed through all those counties 30, 40 miles outside of St. Louis. And that's where they have all that city water is what we call hard water, and it's heavily chlorinated, which means it has more chlorine and ammonia in it than a swimming pool requires. And those are that's part of the problem with you being a filter instead of buying a filter.
You'll be the filter or you'll buy the filter, joneswater.com.
There you go. That's
636-899-1040. What is where's the worst water? Who's got the worst water in the area? Like in St. Charles County, if you get onto that area, or where is the water just funky town?
Well, the hardest water that I deal with by municipal purposes is Troy, Illinois. It's up in the 30 grain hardness area. So the city of St. Louis County water runs between 8 at its best day and 12 to 14 on its worst day. All of St. Charles County that has well water that's not part of the St. Louis County system has a water hardness that's at minimum 18 grains to as much as 24 grains. If you get out to Moscow Mills or in Lincoln County, if you go over into Jefferson County, it's up in the between 20 and 30 range. If you go over into Illinois, Macoupin, Jersey, Monroe, Madison, all that well water there is between 20 and 35 grains hard. So it doesn't matter where you go here in this metropolitan area, you have hard water of some degree. And the city of St. Louis and St. Louis County has such a large population that they distribute to that they put what's called polyphosphates in the water to help, not remove, to help it from sticking to surfaces, in particular inside their plumbing throughout the whole distribution system.
And what is I was going to ask you the physical effects. So you told me, you said that, the reason people need to have water systems in their home is twofold. One, it saves you on maintenance with your pipes and your, all your fixtures and so forth. And you said number 2 is just the health reasons. What does the funky water do to you over time? If you're drinking tap water and you're drinking tap water throughout the day, or you're putting it in tea, or you're putting in Kool-Aid or whatever people drink that they use water with it, what ultimately is the effect? Is it on your kidneys? Is it on your entire body? What kind of detrimental health effects does it have on you?
Well, the physical things you can see if you're putting it on your body is when you're taking a shower and and you feel squeaky clean when you get out, what's referred to as squeaky clean.
Yeah, my wife said that to me. It's funny. She said the same thing. I said, I always feel like I got like a film on me. She goes, that's good.
The film,
like
when
you're
taking a
shower, it's really soft. It feels like I'm not getting I'm not getting completely dried off. And she said, because my wife's a nurse, and she said, when you feel like it's squeaky clean, as you said,
that's dirty.
Yeah. I looked at it just the opposite.
And so think about it this way. When you if you ever mess with concrete and you use a powdered form of concrete and you get it on your hands while you're mixing it, let's say, your hands dry out dramatically. Your hands will dry out. If you physically put your hand into powder of concrete, that's hardness. That's calcium carbonate mixed together, and that's what they use to make concrete with. That stuff forms to your skin and it plugs your pores. So when you're in a shower and you're doing that and you're using soap, that soap and that mineral mix together to form a curd, and that curd plugs all the pores of your skin, all of them. Doesn't matter where you're at, your arm, your head, your legs, everywhere. And then when you get out of the shower, you have to, what's the first thing most ladies do when they get out of the shower? They put lotion on. Why do they have to put lotion on? Because they just got out of the shower. Why do you need lotion? Your body has natural body oil in it. So when you have no mineral in the water and you have no soap left behind on your skin, your pores are open, your body oils come to the surface, and that's the slippery, silky, clean feeling that you get from having clean water to take a shower in. When you put it in your body like this, is pure water without any mineral or anything else left in it. I'll make a challenge to everybody out there. You can do this yourself at home. Go buy yourself a bottle of water that says purified drinking water on it. Take it and pour it into a glass, a clear glass like this. This is a mason jar. I drink a mason jar full of water before I leave out of here. It's 32 ounces. You make 8 ounces, 10 ounces of hot water in a microwave with orange or with Lipton or Louisiana tea, a tea bag, one tea bag in each glass, one with your tap water and one with your purified water. Steep the water in the microwave for a minute or two, just enough to get it hot, and you steep the tea in it for about 2 minutes. Pull them out and look at the difference in the color of the teas. What color is the tea supposed to be? Do you know, Rob?
I would think like a yellowish orange.
Well, tea, when you make it with
or yellowish tan, I guess.
Yeah, orange Pico and cut black tea is what Louisiana Lipton is. When you make it with pure water, there's nothing for it to mix with but the tea, and the tea color and flavor and smell comes out in the tea. You'll smell it. It'll be orange. You'll be able to see through the glass. The brown, it'll be orange in color, where if you make it with the water you have, it'll be brown and you can't see through the glass, and there'll be a foam on the top of it. And that foam is the mineral.
I got to tell you this because it's just my mom drank nothing but tea. That's all I drank as a kid. My mom loved tea, so she made the big pictures of tea, and it was a dark brown tea, and it would have the film across the top, just exactly. That's all we drank, though. My mom didn't drink anything but tea, so she made my dad, if he's listening, he'll tell you we had nothing but tea, and that's all she drank out of the faucet. We're not, we didn't know anything about water.
Well, no, back then we didn't know.
Yeah, and that's the way the tea looked. It was a dark brown. It almost looked like almost like black. Really, it was a really dark brown, and it always had a little foam across the top of it, just like you described. So that's just simply because it was tap water.
The tap water is mineral laden, and it's got a lot of other stuff. We call that total dissolved solids. The dissolved solids of the water.
My Aunt Jenny's listening because I see her on there. My Aunt Jenny will tell you that's exactly what was going on with my mom with the tea. Unbelievable. It's just so funny. Now, you got to talk about air too. Because the air filtration systems, I got to tell you, it worked because you brought it in. I brought it over to my father's house. I've told the story on air. I don't know how many times. I know you're working when I'm doing the show, but they had you showed me what was going into the filter, and then you put some kind of measuring device. You said, "Now look at it when the air coming out the other side," and there was nothing in it. So it was the water that was going in. You showed me all the I don't know how you calculated it, but a number on your little device there, and then you put that on the back end of it, and it was putting out fresh, clean air. The one thing I noticed, and I don't know, do you notice this? Because you and I have never talked about it.
Does that look like that machine right there?
Yeah. And what happened? What I liked about it,
office. I use it.
I know
I
you
don't
did.
just promote it. I use it too.
Dr. Helen Gelhard had it as well. And what I noticed was the air felt, I can't explain it, but it felt lighter and crisper in the room. You could feel, it when you walked in. You could kind of feel, it's like when you take the humidity out of the air, and it's not a dehumidifier, but it kind of felt like you took the humidity out of the air, and the air felt a little crisper and a little easier but it didn't feel as heavy to me. And I said when I came into town last time, I stayed at my friend Scott's house, the guy who was telling you he was the ball player, and I got sick right away at his house because we have air filtration in my home, and I have air filtration at my dad's, so we've got it. I stayed at my buddy's house, and he's got a beautiful home. He's a baseball player, a beautiful home. Isaiah will tell you, a wonderful house. I got sick right away. I stayed there for 2 days. I woke up and I was coughing and hacking, and my nose was all stuffed up. I don't think I realized the effect that it was having on my body. That was a perfect test for me because for as long as I can remember, I've had fresh air where I was staying, and then I stay at one place that didn't have and because I got sinus and respiratory problems, I got sick right away. I'm still coughing that stuff up. I'm healthy now, but I'm still coughing it up.
Yeah, well, that machine that's a class 2 medical grade air purifier. And it removes everything out of the water down to down to the
Air.
sub-micron level. Yeah, I mean, so when everything it pulls through that machine, when it comes out like that,
That's it
that
right there. That's the one.
meter that
Right there.
yeah, the meter that I showed you that I did that test with is I did it. We went outside and checked the air. We checked the air in your dad's place. Then we put the machine over the top of the air tester. We put it over the top of the machine, and it went to zero. So when it goes to zero, that means there's nothing coming out of it. So it's not allowing any. It's sucking everything in, sanitizing it, removing the chemical, taking all the dust particles out down to 0.3 of a micron, and then it gives you fresh, clean air, which is what you are experiencing. In that
Yeah, I kind
fresh,
of have
clean.
to have it. Yeah, for me, it's starting to recognize I have to have some of these things. I was going to ask you, because my father, when I came home and I told him it was in there, and I said, "You're going to hear it because you can hear it just a little hum going on." And he goes, "Is that going to like be crazy on my electric bill?" And I called you up. Remember? So how does this affect your electric bill? So if you have this air purifier running all day in your house, you said it would actually help your energy costs, which kind of surprised me because I was like, I never thought about that. Let me ask Everett.
You're talking about the furnace on his fan and his
Yeah.
his
Well, I
the
know.
furnace
So
fan motor.
Yeah, exactly.
But I turned
'Cause
his
you
furnace
said
fan
you said to
motor
turn
on.
the fan once we turned that on, you said to change the way we had our thermostat in the fan.
Yes. So your thermostat for your furnace and air conditioner has a setting. It's called auto and on, and then it has heat, off, and cool. So when you turn it to on, that simply turns the fan motor in the furnace to the on position, and it runs it continuously. So it takes more energy to turn that fan on and off than it does to turn it on and leave it run. So when you leave it run, not only are you using less energy, you are getting 3 more air changes an hour inside your home, because it takes 20 minutes to circulate all the air in your house through that fan and that furnace one time. So if you leave it on continuously, every hour you're getting 3 complete air changes through your furnace, which is helping to filter the air in the home that you are in, no
So
matter where you're at.
you should almost always have your fan on?
Always. Mine never shuts off. Mine ran for 10 years before I had to replace it.
Really?
Yeah.
That's the first time I've ever heard that. I did not know that. It's like I said, you learn so many things when you just ask questions. So, under normal circumstances, if you have even if you don't have the air purification system, you would want your fan running all the time.
Absolutely. Yeah. So all year long, my fan never shuts off. Summer, winter, spring, fall, doesn't matter. So it continually is pulling the air through the house, and obviously I have air purification system. So I'm going to promote a little bit here. April Air has
Is that Billy? Is that our friend Billy?
That's our friend Billy. Yep.
Uh-huh.
He's my guru for the April Air products. And this is a product we put on the furnace. So this filter right here is what all the air in your house goes through. And this particular filter filters down to 3 microns in particle size. So unlike the Healthway product behind me, filtering out down to 0.3 of an air or 0.3 of a micron in size. So if you were to try to get 0.3 of a micron filter in your furnace, you'd burn up your fan motor because that's really, really tight, and you don't want that. So this particular filter is a very large, in-depth filter that has the ability to filter a lot of air before the filter needs to be changed. So these are all these are all ways to clean the air in your water. So you got the air filter that actually filters particulate. You got the Healthway air purifier, which sanitizes and goes deeper and removes volatile organic chemicals. Then if you want to control the humidity, which we do.
Tell people why the humidifier is so important. You knocked your phone.
Well,
you knocked your picture down. I can't see you.
Yeah. I've dropped you. So let me get you back up here.
Tell people in Missouri why
dehumidifiers.
Dehumidifier. I'm sorry.
Yeah, dehumidifiers is what we use most. You could use a dehumidifier in Missouri 9 months out of the year. And I put 2 of them in a house in St. Albans. Had 6 furnaces in it. I put 2 dehumidifiers in it. It's doing the entire 6,000 square feet. I can put one of these in somebody's basement of an average 3,000 square foot house, and it'll do the entire house from the basement. You don't need it. That would do the whole house in the basement. That's where mine's at. I don't have it hooked up to my ductwork. I just have it in the basement. And from my basement, it controls the humidity throughout my house. And it's 2,000 square foot here.
And what's the benefit?
But say again?
What's the benefit?
What's the benefit? Yeah, that's the big one. The benefit of having a dehumidifier running year round in your house is your air conditioner doesn't have to run as much, which is more energy consumption, to take the humidity out, but your air conditioner is only working on temperature. It's not working on humidity. So it might get the temperature down to what you want it, but it won't get all the humidity out of the space because it can't run long enough. If it did, it would be too cold in your house. So this product, the April Air dehumidifier, runs continuous. It cycles every 15 minutes to check the humidity in your house. If the humidity level, like I set mine at 48% humidity, and that's where it stays pretty much most of the year. And if you get it down in that 45 to 50% range, that's ideal at this time of the year and for 6 months out of the year. You know, when you get into the spring and fall, or coming into spring and going out of fall, that's about the only time that the dehumidifier is not utilized. You know, them winter months, the going into winter and coming out of winter.
It's kind of counterintuitive, right? Because I was thinking about it, Everett. You know, it's counterintuitive because you said, you know, if you set let's say you set your air conditioner at 74. You said if it's 74 without a dehumidifier, it's 74. You said you could put it at 76. It'll still feel like 74, but your electricity bills are going to go down because you're at 76, not 74, right? Because it's not working as hard. You said, but it'll feel the same. 76 will feel like 74 if you drag the humidity out of the air.
Yeah.
It's counterintuitive because you're spending money to bring the humidity out of the air, and you're like, oh, I got to get because I was like, how would I explain this to people? And I said,
okay, so here's
you're saving yourself money by using less energy if you get the dehumidifier.
Here's a way to think about it. You have a Mack truck out in your yard that's consuming energy to cool your house. You could put a Volkswagen in your basement to control the humidity, and your Mack truck wouldn't have to run as much. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I just made that one up.
Genius.
So you know you use a smaller product to control the problem that a big product is trying to control two problems, and it can't do that. It can only control one problem, temperature.
Yeah, makes sense.
One of the byproducts of doing that is it actually has the ability to remove the moisture from the air while the air is being circulated in the air conditioning mode by the freon cooling and the air exchange on the evaporator coil. That's happening. Natural dehumidification happens when you air condition a space. But the problem is there is still humidity in that space that needs to be removed to keep your home comfortable and at a higher temperature and more efficient at that temperature.
Interesting. Somebody says, Earthship Freedom says, what does Everett think about the fresh air intake from April Air? I don't know what that means. Do you know what that means? What does Everett think about the fresh air intake from April Air?
They're fantastic. You can do that. This dehumidifier has that ability to suck in the fresh air from outside. So my house is 125 years old. I don't have a problem with air getting in on my house. I have a problem with it getting in and out both. So in the case of a home that's been built since, you know, the late 80s, early 90s, most of them are wrapped really tight and they seal everything in the house. So you don't get any fresh air in the home, and you have all this stale air in the house that you can't get rid of. So you can incorporate the fresh air intake of the April Air dehumidifier to cycle, and it will pull fresh air in and put it into your home every 15 minutes if you so choose. But it will cycle until it gets the humidity correct, and every time it cycles, it will pull fresh air into your home. So that's kind of a positive negative feel. You know, your house is always under positive pressure because it can't get rid of anything. So when you bring fresh air in and you exhaust it, stale air, then you are getting a balance in the air of your home.
Very interesting. I learned so much. I was thinking as you were talking, and somebody said, Rob, I'm learning so much from these two. Please have them on more often. The reason I like to do this, and the reason I pick advertisers the way I do. You and I have talked about it a lot. You have people that want to advertise with you, but you don't gel with them. I seem to gel with people that I learn from. I sit down and talk to you and look at you with the water. The first time we had lunches, you brought that little machine to get the osmosis machine for your water. And we're at that Mexican restaurant. And then we walked into the back and you put the water system into this restaurant that we were at. And I thought, well, this is what I like. I said, I like it. I even said to the guy from ECS Roofing, he's been building roofs. He built houses from scratch. And, some people are stage fright kind of thing. And I said, you should come on. I said, because I think that, my audience is, I don't even know what the word for it is, but we like to learn. We like to think, we're just it's that type of audience. And I said, when you come in and you explain things, like if I were to go through the shoe business, I think I would fascinate with people about how much I know about the shoe business, right? I started working at it from 15 to 53 years old. I know how shoelaces are made. I know the rubbers that go into the shoes. I know the marketing schemes behind the shoes. I know where the shoes come from. I know all the history of shoes. I know everything about shoes. And when I pick advertisers, I like the ones that have experience in what they're doing. And I think it is advantageous for people like us, because when you're talking about water and air and this and that and the other, it's what most people don't even think about. And then you're telling me all these different stories as we were driving that day. And I thought, I got to get you on, because I think the more you can explain this to people, the more interesting it becomes, right? Because these are things that people don't talk about. They just turn on their water faucet and that's the end of it. Or they turn on their air conditioner and that's the end of it. They never think of all the complexities and things they could do to lower energy costs, feel better within their home, feel more healthy. People just don't think like that. Even when I was talking to Marissa, when she was talking to me about the nutrition, I would have never thought to have lemon water and electrolytes in the morning. And I started doing it and I felt better immediately. I'm like, it's just so odd that I'm 56 years old. Nobody said, Rob, just drink lemon water and electrolytes in the morning and it'll jumpstart your day. Right. It's
you know what I miss?
Things.
One thing I miss out of California is the fresh lemons that I got there daily. There was a tree that right down the road from where we were staying, and I took a walk there with my dog, and I walked up to the people's house and knocked on their door and asked them if I could pick some lemons. And he said, absolutely, come on in. And I picked probably, I had about 30 lemons, and Jenny and I, while we were out there, we'd have a lemon, probably 2 lemons a day. We put one in our shake, and then we'd have one with lemon water, like Marissa was saying. But the difference in the two, what we buy here, and what you could pick off a tree, is so much different. The feel, the look, the taste. It really disgusts me to think that what we have here in the Midwest is garbage. Simply garbage. The food we're getting is garbage.
That's obvious.
I don't want to go down this rabbit hole.
Yeah, but you can tell by the way, just the health of people. Because I heard a nutritionist say, Bill Maher. You know who Bill Maher is? The comedian Bill Maher does the show on HBO. Do you know that name, Bill Maher?
Yeah.
So he had, and he said he was doing a show one time, and he said, "We're so rich, our poor people are fat." Right. So he was doing a joke. And the guy that came on afterwards, he said, Bill, he goes, that's a funny joke. And I get it. You're right. We have an abundance. He goes, the reason people are fat, poor people are fat, is because they're eating crappy food. And he goes, when you don't get nutrition in your food, it sticks to you. And that's why you're getting fat. He goes, you actually made a joke, and it's the opposite of what you're talking about. He said, there's no nutrition in the food. That is what's making you fat. And I'd never even thought about that, because you look at it like I used to, when I was selling shoes at the end of my career, we were selling to inner cities. We were selling tennis shoes, right? And I remember going, and I'd grab lunch or something, and I'm the only white person within miles, right? I'm talking about real poor areas in Chicago, where they sell a ton of $100 tennis shoes, if you can believe it. And I'd go and I'm looking around, like, man, everybody is huge. I'm talking about 300, 400, 500 pound people, and they were just everywhere because it was in a really poor area. And when I heard him say that, I thought, that is the oddest thing. That everything's counterintuitive to what you believe, right? You think if people eat too much, that's why they're fat. And this guy was making the point that the reason some people get really obese and overweight is because they're eating food with no nutrition in it. They're eating the cheapest. They're eating McDonald's all day. They're eating the cheapest thing they can get in their bodies.
It's
and
filler.
That's why they're gaining weight. Yeah, it's the craziest thing.
Yeah.
All right, brother. Let me give everybody your information. And we should get you. We'll clip this up. What I'm going to do is, when we get the website completely done, we'll do it. We'll do a little page for you. And if you want to add in, like when you're adding new products or you have some specials going on, you can just put it on the website. We'll drive people there every day. And then if they want to have conversations with you about stuff with air and water, they'll be able to go to the website and get it. You can drive them to your website, however you want to do it. But if you want to check out Everett Jones and his business, it's joneswater.com, 636. You can call him 636-899-1040. As he likes to say, you'll be the filter or you'll buy the filter. And when I first started doing advertising, he called me up and he said, Rob, you got to tell people where I work because I don't work all over the world. So if you're in Missouri, he does business in St. Charles County, Lincoln, Franklin, Warren, St. Louis, and Jefferson. If you go to the east side, the dark side, Madison, Monroe, Jersey, and St. Clair. joneswater.com, 636-899-1040. You'll be the filter or you'll buy the filter. Everett, great to see you. Thanks for dinner the other night.
He left already. He said, I'm out of here.
He just rolls just like that.
Yeah. He said, you're going to start advertising for me? Well, I'm out of here then.
Just took off. All right, Isaiah, I've got to fly back.
There he is. There he is. He must have dropped off.
There we thought you just ditched us. Huh?
Yeah. So I was going to address, thanks, Isaiah. I was going to address that. You said, what does the water do to you health-wise? So
yes.
When you drink tap water, and this is the argument I get from a lot of folks. Well, I want to get my minerals out of the water. Nah, you might as well go outside and pick up a rock and chew on it and get those inorganic minerals out of the rock, because that's what you're getting. Think about it. The water's dissolved from a rock. It goes into the ground. You pump it out of the ground, or you get it out of the river, wherever it comes from. It's not been processed through photosynthesis through a vegetable or through a animal that has eaten that vegetable and then been through the process of photosynthesis to get an organic form of calcium, iron, magnesium, whatever it might be. If you're not getting an organic form of those kinds of minerals, it's just those minerals are just going into your fat cells and your body's storing them, and it won't go, and they don't go away. So that is one of the things I wanted to make sure you understood, is what is a problem of drinking tap water. That's one of the problems. There's not enough time to talk about the rest of the problems, but fluoride, lead, radioactive compounds, whatever shit's coming out of that river that's going down and they're pulling it out of there. The one community above us is dumping their shit in the river.
Oh yeah.
It's being processed now. Okay, I'm not going to say shit. Stuff is being processed. It's being put back in the river. But what people don't think about is, what about that the EPA doesn't test for is all the pharmaceuticals that we are peeing and pooping out of the water, going into there and going into the river and going back down and going and getting those three-eyed, eagle-eyed fish and six-legged frogs. So there's a reason for that stuff.
I got to tell you, you'll like this story because it kind of plays out to what you're saying. So I have a listener when I was on the radio. He's probably listening in today. He's just working while he listens. And he said, Rob, he goes, I want you to see what's going on in the pipes downtown. He goes, I think it'll blow your mind. He works on, I don't know what he does, but whatever business is, he checks out the pipes downtown. He said, you just would freak out. So we go down into down St. Louis, and he couldn't find it that day. He was trying to get in the pipe. He goes, it's not here because the water wasn't up. So it had kind of dried out where he'd had it. He said, I was just here the other day, and he goes, I'm in these pipes. Now this is going into people's homes and stuff. And he opens it up. What's that? He opened it up. It was green water that he had. Oh, he lost sound.
Not sure.
It might be on his side.
Yeah.
But it was green water. Isaiah, can you imagine? So green water was running through the pipe. It was like, it looked like, I can't even explain it. He said, this has to be poisonous water. It just has to be. I don't know what's in it, but it was green water running through the pipes, and he wanted me to see it. He actually made me take a sample of the water. Did we just lose him completely?
I think so. I'm about to add him back in here. Let's see. Can you hear us?
Nope.
No? Nope. Oh, well. We got to wrap up. I got to leave anyway.
I got to go too. I got to fly in. I was going
to say, you got to catch your flight.
Yep, I got to catch the flight. We'll see everybody Monday morning, and I'll work. If you're around on Sunday, Isaiah, let's get with Tom, and we'll put an advertisers page where everybody can put their little commercials and why we're advertising with them on the robcartershow.com, because that's the billboards we're going to start putting up. I'm getting one in Franklin County, I think.
Yeah, it'd probably be a little. What you're saying is a little more complicated than I think you realize, and so what we'll probably do is just put a link on there for them to go to their websites. You're talking way too complicated stuff.
Well, just a little clip like we did right here.
Yeah, that'd be, I mean, we can, but it's going to be easier just to send people to their websites,
Okay.
because you're essentially creating more burden on us to continue to upkeep these things, and we don't have a team to do that.
No. I'm talking about Tom to cut a clip just like we would on our show, and just put it on the page. If we can't do that, that's one thing.
Yeah, it'd be very busy. Yeah, I think that's too busy. I think it's we'd have 75 clips on there from different episodes, and I think it's
no, it'd be just the one per advertiser, whatever clip they want. We wouldn't overdo it.
That's
one clip.
That's 14 clips.
You gotta be hard.
Yeah. I think you gotta think about, you gotta talk to Tom and then work backwards words from these things before thinking about how we can launch something. It's a lot more some things are more complicated, and then upkeeping websites and updating things are more complicated than people think.
Gotcha.
And so
that's why I have you here, because I have.
Yeah, you
know me, I know nothing.
Yeah, and
What's your shirt say?
And pray.com.
Oh, I love it. Okay.
Yeah, so I worked with these guys. If you know the app, everyone has pray.com essentially. So I got to work with these guys just through, they were trying to get our church to be involved with them, and I just became very friendly with them. Their CEO realized very quickly that I knew what I was talking about, and because I worked in technology, and so he picked my brain all the time, and we had great conversations about how to grow technology and market it and all these fun things. And so they sent me some free t-shirts.
Cool. Well, I know
Moe's. We can't forget Moe's.
What am I doing? Everett, I know you can't hear us. I see your face. I'll call you a little bit later on. We're going to wrap up the show and start up again Monday, but I got to remind you, if you're in the Washington, Missouri area, it is Moe's Pizza time. It's lunchtime, isn't it, Isaiah? It's time for lunch.
Oh yeah.
Moe's Pizza, baby. God owns the place. He just works there anytime you're in the Washington, Missouri area, except for Mondays. And it's time to eat. You got to think of that delicious pizza and salad bar, chicken wings, great sandwiches and ice cream. Moe's Pizza, proud supporters of us from the very beginning. Great people. There is Mike Johns. Again, if you have any kind of gathering, this is where they thrive. Any kind of gathering in the area, they'll treat you like family. Birthday parties, anniversaries, political meetings, or Bible studies. Any kind of gathering in Washington, Missouri, you need a little banquet space. It is Moe's Pizza. Moe's Pizza at the corner of Grand and 5th Street in Washington, Missouri. As he likes to remind everybody, God owns the place. He just works there. Moe's Pizza, my favorite people out in Washington, Missouri. Isaiah, I think that's all we got today. I will see you. What's that?
Your buddies are busting you. They said you got millennial splained.
Oh yeah, that's my buddy Bill. Bill and I have been friends for we've been friends since we were, Bill, I think we probably met when we were 14, 15 years old. Wow. Bill and I have been friends for a long, long time. It's nice to see, because I see people commenting on the app, and people texting me that I haven't seen some of these people in so many years. It's great to see them. And Bill's basically family with me. We grew up in the same area, played ball together, and the whole thing. Yeah, it's really cool. Bill,
it's cool that it comes, it comes full circle back around.
I gotta say, when I started on radio, even with the podcast, when I did the podcast the first time, and now we're starting to grow it. So we got to grow everything back again. But it is so great that when you especially when you grew up in St. Louis, you see all these names of people that you haven't seen for years, and they find you somehow, and they end up listening to the show and reconnecting. It has been, I'll tell you what, when you're 56 years old, you get sentimental for some of these old friends and faces. Jay, why are you putting Jay up? See, Jay, you weren't supposed to put that up. You just put that up because now you feel good because I'm getting old.
Yeah, that was too good. Jay Brown he's a funny guy. He's part of the MMTLP.
You come from Jay, if you want somebody to come, it's funny. I was just thinking that, Jay, if you're from the MMTLP crowd, I'm trying to get Kristen Shaughnessy back on. I think the other people ghosted me. I think they got mad at me when we tried to get the debate going on, but I'm not going to
lose. I think he's on the other side. Jay's on the other side. I know they say there's no sides, right? But for
whatever side they're on, I want to get people from MMTLP, because either way it goes, and Jay may disagree with me. Maybe Jay, you could come on sometime as well. The reason I talk about it is because I do believe that regardless of whether it was the CEOs or whether it was FINRA or whoever it was, something happened to where people either got taken advantage of. Maybe they were bad investors, but somehow, some way, people got taken advantage of. And I just want to bring that to people's attention, because we've got to fix that. You can't have people that might not be great investors. They might not know the system all that well, lose all of their money.
One of the stories is correct. And
either way it goes, people got taken advantage of.
Yeah.
That's why they're pissed.
Exactly.
Right? All right. I will see everybody. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you Monday morning at 9 a.m. Isaiah, if you want to work on Sunday, I'm going to be working with Tom, I think between 1:30 and 3:30 on the website. So if you're available, let's work together.
I don't know what I'm doing. We will see.
You're very popular.
I gotta talk to my wife. That's what it is.
I know
see.
She runs
check the schedule. Hey, what are we doing?
She runs the show at that house. I'm very aware. Have a great weekend, everybody. Talk to you later, Isaiah.
See you guys.